Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and I'm not going to be alone on this one. Please welcome Itai, who is an Embraer captain from the United States.
Hello everyone, nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Manuel.
So, in case you don't know Itai, he runs his own channel, which is called Crew Rest, and you can find a link to that in the video description below. He made some excellent Embraer tutorials, even though not using this Embraer, but the version on a different flight simulator. But I absolutely recommend you to check that one out. He does some great content there. So, Itai actually commented under my earlier videos, and that's how he got to do this collaboration. Now, the target on this video is to forget everything that we've heard before. We're going to throw everything out of the window, and we'll approach this from the perspective of we have two pilots who try to do a flight. We're going to use the developer's SOP to be sure that we stay in line with what they have released, and that way we do want to offer you hopefully an as neutral opinion as possible. However, be aware that still we're talking about opinions over here. It is going to be my opinion, it is going to be Ithai's opinion, so that is the boundary in which we are stepping. Also be aware that my copy of the E-Jets has actually been provided to me through the community, through viewers like you, and actually through the user Green Ranger to be totally exact. And I just want to confirm to you that there have been no kind of you need to do this and that in order to get that copy whatsoever. So the copy has been provided by him. Thank you very, very much, Green Ranger, for that. And we are going to try to be as neutral as possible, just two guys trying to fly the airplane. So, we're currently sitting on the ground at Detroit. Now, the Detroit scenery, to be fair with you guys, I have been given from IndyBuilds, but that shall not be the topic of today's video. Let's have a quick look into what we are about to do then. We are sitting here on the ground in Detroit, and we'll take the American Eagle Embraer to Boston on a nice 1 hour and 20 minutes flight. So that is the plan for today. Now, I will operate the airplane using the SOP that the developer has published, and whenever the flows are done, we're going to read the checklists, and then Itai is going to provide us with additional information and is going to provide us with backgrounds on the stuff that's going on. So that is kind of the plan for the day. Those of you who are regular viewers on my channel, they know that we always start by looking at the flight plan to check out what we're about to do, and we are using SimToolkit Pro for that, with a flight plan generated on SimBrief, and here it is. So this is going to be SkyWest 1622 from Detroit to Boston, planned at flight level 350. The fuel, everything is in pounds, just to be aware of that. And now we go all the way down to quickly check on the weather so that we can decide on the amount of fuel we want to take. So I would say, looking at this, well, I'm not so familiar with the United States, so Itai, seeing we're flying to a big US airport, what would you say? Like, shall we take any extra fuel, or shall we just go with the flight plan? What would you say?
Let's see, that's a good question. Well, typically we won't necessarily have an alternate in conditions like these, so to begin with, have an alternate fuel. That puts us in a good position. Yeah, I don't think we need any extras.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. So let's have a look. The flight plan says our standard fuel is 9,202 pounds. So does that sound reasonable for you for like an hour and 20 flight with alternate JFK?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Perfect. So we just round it up, make it something like 9.4-ish.
Yep.
Okay. So for loading up the airplane, we actually have to use the standard flight simulator menu, but we can have a look into the cockpit first of all. Let's step into the office, and we can have a look into the tablet. And the one function we have in the tablet at the moment over here is that ground page, and over there we get a summary of the zero fuel weight and the fuel on board. So let's go ahead into the menus and start loading up that airplane. So we said we take 9.4 for the fuel. Gives me 9. That's a bit less. Come on. 9,380, that sounds good. And for the zero fuel weight, our sim toolkit tells us... Sorry? 64.4.
64.4.
Perfect. Man, I should be the first officer, you're the captain.
No, on the contrary, I'm feeding you the information. I'm providing the input
Perfect.
for you to make a decision as the captain.
So we're in swapped roles today.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay, we've got 64.3 at the moment. That shall be good, shall it?
I'm cozy in the right seat, by the way. In the meantime.
So you say the seats in the Embraer are actually nice?
If you take it all the way back and study the overhead, yes, absolutely.
That's what I wanted to hear. Alright then. As said, for the SOPs we're going to use, I will mainly use the procedures guide from the FlightSimStudio's website and their documentations, so that is what we're basing this one on. So, for the power-up, they say batteries on, GPU available light is showing, so let's put that on, and GPU in use, APU on then start. I guess you guys wouldn't just start the APU straight away, would you, Itai?
No, absolutely not. We would use the GPU and basically 20-15 minutes away from pushback we would start the APU. There's no point of burning all this fuel. Only exception if it's exceptionally cold or something like that, or hot, and you just need strong AC to start working.
Yeah, okay. Same for us. I mean, we would start the APU even later, but I guess that's the start of the day. Okay, then nav light on, logo light as required, it's daylight, we don't need it, and emergency lights armed. And that is pretty much the power-up procedure from the developer. Now, the developer straight away goes into the pushback, so I guess that's pretty much their entire pre-flight procedure. But let's go ahead and start programming the FMS. Now, there is not really an FMS guide from the developer there, so would you guide us through how you would do it in the real plane?
Absolutely, happy to. Before we go, obviously we would check I don't know if it's operable, but the fire extinguishers, we'll check a bunch of stuff. We'll check the hydraulics, basically all the stuff. Oh, it's not operable. Okay.
No, it's not operable. So for the hydraulics, what would you go to do there? Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so hydraulics, as the switches are, we would just keep it like that, but I was referring to going to the display, the MFD.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, status page is what we want at first. We want to see engine oil levels, which we can see are doing well. Battery is charging, that's going to be part of the power-up, but it's not going to be that picky.
Mm-hmm.
And that the crew oxygen is in the green. We don't really use values because just the number itself would change color. If it's cyan, for example, we can't have a jump seater. If it's amber, we need to call maintenance. So if it's in the green, we're fine.
Okay.
Now, on that same page, we would go to the upper right. We would change from system status to hydraulic synoptic, and we want to make sure that all the quantities are again in the green and not in the cyan.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so these are the main checks, and then we check basically all the switches in the cockpit. But absolutely, if you want to go ahead and program the MCDU.
Oh, I'd say if you say we check the switches, then I guess you guys are using a scan flow as well, like from the top to bottom in every one of those. Okay.
Absolutely. So we basically check. It's a quiet and dark cockpit. So whenever things are dark, it means that they're fine. So 12 o'clock in auto, it's highly automatic airplane. So most things are going to be in auto. I'll try to point out what's not in auto.
Mm-hmm.
This panel looks good, so we can move on to the next fuel panel. Everything is auto already. We would check the emergency lights. We would turn it to on. We just want to see that the ICAS is showing emergency light on, which it is, beautiful. Oops. And then we turn it back to auto.
Okay, perfect. So that's this,
Basically checking, and then fire extinguisher, APU is up to you, whatever you choose to do.
Yeah, those don't work at the moment. None of these switches is clickable, so we can't check the fire extinguishers here.
Okay, let's assume it's checked.
Yep.
APU up to you, as we said. Everything here so far, windshield, the external lights look good.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next panel. Hydraulics exactly as it is right now. Everything is in auto except for system 3, which you can see. System 3 it's not an engine. So if just to go quickly over the system, so 1 and 2 each have associated engine with. So the primary pump is going to be the engine-driven pump. So this is the guarded switches, the red guarded switches. This is the shut-off valve for the hydraulics to the pump. So the pump doesn't actually stop. We're just cutting off the hydraulic fluid to them. But then associated with them, we have as a backup the electric hydraulic pumps. So these typically remain auto. In my company SOP, we will turn them on for basically before start, but until both engines are on. But this is a good position.
Okay.
System 3 does not have an engine associated with it, so it's just 2 electric pumps. So electric pump A is just an on-off position, and then B is the backup, so that's auto. And obviously B is kicking in case A is failing.
All right.
So that's just in a nutshell the synopsis of how the hydraulic system works.
Yeah.
Moving on to the pressurization, everything is auto, is basically the same function you would find in any modern airliner, just highly automatic, you barely touch it ever.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, moving on to the next panel, right at the top. This is the the ice protection panel. So as again, everything is dark and 12 o'clock. That's what we want to see. Only thing I would change about the air conditioning is the PAX cabin knob over there.
Yeah.
Take it all the way to the left, so you can see it's hot and cold. But if you pass the cold, the C over there, you have an attendant.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like an extra step over there. But if you take it to that extra step, we don't have control over the passenger cabin temperature from the cockpit. But instead, we're giving the control to the flight attendants in the back. They have their own panel.
Okay.
If the PAX cabin knob here would be in 12 o'clock, we would not be able. They would not be able to control. It's going to be all us, and of course, when they get too warm, they're going to yell at us.
Okay, so from the developer's roadmap, we know that this button is going to come with a future update, so we'll just set it back to 12 o'clock, I guess, then.
Works for me. But you take the call when they call about it. I have no involvement in the matter.
All right.
Okay, and and the rest looks good as well. Pushed in. So those buttons again, once they're like this, they just work automatically. Once again, in a normal flight, I would not even touch over there at all. Just beautiful system logic that works automatically. And obviously the passenger oxygen, much like any other airliner, we want it on auto deployment for the masks, that is for the passengers. And if the masks are deployed for any reason, the mask deployed light over there, it's not a switch, it's a light. We want to see that it's extinguished.
Okay, so basically this is the switch. If you want to go home early, you accidentally hit this one into the override position.
Exactly, jungle cabin.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, but I think we're going to Boston, and there's a good bar over there that I want to show you. So let's go to Boston. So let's not deploy them right now.
All right. So basically, I'll hit it when I go out for the walk around over there.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. So we can go home early. Okay, good. And since you're the captain, you're the one who's dealing with maintenance people. So.
So you're well out of the topic, huh?
Yeah, I'll get the cab.
Be sure to order some drinks for me in that bar.
Yeah.
I guess it's gonna take me a while to get there.
No, you just write it up and come. Right.
Ah, perfect. So just leave a note for the engineer. That's it.
Right. So from this point, we would go to the guidance panel, which you would refer to as the MCP in the Boeings. We just want to make sure everything is set. We use FMS speeds, which I understand are not modeled in this add-on yet.
Yeah, exactly. We only have manual speeds here.
Okay, so we just have to remember to manually do V2 over there once we get the performance. So typically, it's a step we don't really even have to do because we just leave it on FMS, and once we set the V speeds, it automatically does it for us. Then moving forward, what you would call the EFIS, like the very left side of the... Yep, exactly. We just want to make sure that FMS mode is active on the PFD, which it is.
Yep.
Because sometimes it's still in localizer mode from the previous flight. Then we would move to the rest of the panel to the left. Just to the left, exactly. Just check all the switches, the reversionary panel at the bottom over there. Then we would go to the PFD. Make sure we have no flags, nothing crazy going on over there, which looks normal to me.
Can I ask you a question there?
course.
When we power this up in the add-on, we basically have everything aligned immediately. Is there an IRS alignment sequence or anything the likes in the embryos?
Yes, there is an alignment sequence, and I'm going to show you this. So it at this stage, we did not initialize the MCDU yet. So we would do that in the MCDU in a second. So we don't the IRS panel that you normally have on the 7.3, that's done in the backstage. We don't have access to it. We don't need to have access to it. All we got to do is to initialize the point in the MCDU. So I can show that in a second. So once we've done with the PFD, we just want to make sure that there's no flags or anything like that.
Yeah.
By the time we push later, we want to see obviously the route is over there, and by then the alignment is done. We would also see normal indications for the FMS, for the GPS or the IRS.
All right.
MFD we just discussed. So the main things we have to do is what we just did, the status page and the hydraulic page. Personally, I want to also check that the rest of the things make sense to me as well in the other systems. So especially if it's like, okay, if you go to flight control page,
yep.
At the top left you have the electric and hydraulic PBIT, the built-in test. So those always reset to 50. So it's counting down, from 50 down to 0. It's how many hours until you have to do an inspection. So I just want to make sure. So if the airplane, for example, if it's like the evening and the airplane has been powered up the whole day, we could potentially see quite low numbers in the electrical PBIT. And I don't want to dive too much into it, but I would just make sure that it's in a good range, and that it's not getting too low exactly.
Okay.
So electric PBIT, it runs the PBIT when you first introduce AC power to the airplane after power up. Hydraulic PBIT runs when you pressurize the hydraulics.
Ah, okay.
Hydraulics we talked about.
Yep.
Fuel. So for me, that's a hint. That's a trick that I use. Whatever my next step is in the programming, I just put the system page over there. So let's say I am just checking the airplane, but I did not check the flight plan yet, so I don't know if we have the fuel or not. So I just put the fuel page over there, and that reminds me to make sure that we have enough fuel per the release, per the flight plan.
Very good thing indeed.
Yep. So, and if we do have the fuel, I know what's next stage, probably firing up the APU. So I want to put the electric page on to remind me that I need the electricity from the APU.
Yeah. So before we are just about leaving that fuel page, is the fuel line indicating correctly that? Is that how the plane would work?
Is the APU running?
Yes, it is running.
Oh yeah, so it's not quite correct. We would want to see the right-hand AC pump on.
Okay.
And pumping fuel to that APU.
So basically we'd get a green line like here from the AC pump like this.
Exactly. Yep, that's correct. Now for some reason the DC pump is on. At this stage we have AC power in the airplane. So the DC pump would only activate. The DC pump is for when we only have DC.
Okay, so I would guess if we saw something like this, it would actually be a case to call maintenance and call it today.
Yeah, go to the bar in Detroit instead of Boston.
Alright, cool. I mean, early access, so I guess that's still work in progress. So let's not hold on to that. One question.
Yep.
Is it normal that the fuel used indicator goes up with the APU burning fuel, or should that just be the engines?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. Alright, so that's something different from the 7.3.
Yeah, I think it just resets every time you get on the ground, and like 2 minutes after we touch down on the ground, the computer basically drops the previous flight and gets ready for the next flight plan to load. I'm pretty sure, don't catch me on that, I think this is when it resets.
Okay.
But yeah, we can check. So we said we loaded a 9.4, we have 9.2 for the fuel for that flight plan, so back to our pre-flight. That's good, we don't have to call anyone for fuel.
Perfect. So then you said electrical.
Yep.
And I saw on your video on the channel where you looked at the trailer already that there were quite a couple things on that electrical panel. Shall we go over these again, or does this basically look the same as it did in the trailer, so that we can just tell people, if they're interested, head over to your channel, watch that video, because I feel you did an amazing job on that one already, talking about the electrical stage.
Oh, thank you. It looks the same. I can just say in one sentence that we can see that each and every line over there is green, which means every bus is connected to every bus, which is not realistic. Each bus has one feeder, one normal feeder, and one backup feeder. So some of the lines are going to be white, because they're not, like, for example, the DC bus 1 and 2 would not interconnect, because the DC bus 2 is fed from TRU2 and DC bus 1 is fed from TRU1. They don't need to feed each other necessarily, so the connection between them would be white.
Okay.
Because you see what I mean? An essential feeds the AC essential feeds TRU essential, that feeds DC essential 3. So it's like a vertical feeding system, if you will. So they don't need to interfeed one another. It's just a backup in case the TRU essential drops. The DC essential will still get electricity. So I don't. That's the nutshell. I don't want to give every bus here. Another thing is the AC GPU. You can see it's completely white, and that there's no voltage and no hertz.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get good connection from the ground, we might not use it because the APU is online right now. But we would see voltage and hertz, and a green AC GPU, not the line, just the card itself, would show green to indicate, hey, it's a good connection, you can use that. So right now, it's available. This is a good indication here.
Yeah.
But the corresponding system indication here would be an AC GPU screen and a voltage and hertz.
And if I can ask one final question on that one, if you had both AC GPU and the APU available, would the system prioritize one over the other?
Yes, APU would take priority.
Okay.
So it's actually correct that the APU would feed the entire system like that.
Yep.
It's just the way it's presented right now. It looks like something is connected over there, but the connection is not good.
Okay.
So in the APU.
All right, perfect. So then we go on to the ECS, I guess, is air conditioning?
Yep, absolutely. Environmental control system.
Ah, perfect. Don't have these advanced things in the 737. We are basic.
No, you just do it mentally. We are so stupid, we have to see it in front of us in the form of a nice painting.
Well, let's just stick with the term, us 737 pilots, we are mental. Okay.
Totally like it. Good. That looks mostly correct, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. APU is feeding both packs through the crossbleed, and we can see the set temperature versus the actual temperature, so it looks like 22 degrees. Quite comfortable. We're not expecting the angry call from the flight attendants yet. Another important indication here is the duct PSIs. So anything over 40, we're pretty much safe to use the APU to start the engines. Anything below that, we might get a hung start, for example.
Okay.
We can also, by the way, see the same values for the duct pressure. We can just see it in the system synoptic page. The status page, excuse me. So the main status page, this is like kind of our go-to. We can also see the PSIs over there. So on the right side, next to the doors.
Ah, over here.
So for some reason here it shows 0. So for some reason we have 0 duct pressure. That would just replicate what we just saw in ECS.
So basically here we should see a copy of what we have down here. So like 46 right now. 47 on the right side. Okay.
So typically I would not actively go to the ECS page, but before I call for the first officer to start, for example, engine 1, start engine 1 first, I would glance at the status page to make sure we have good pressures.
Okay. Cool, so on to the anti-ice, I guess.
Anti-ice, yeah. To be honest, I won't bet good money on it right now, but I can. Okay, I will bet you good money on that the APU cannot feed the anti-ice system.
Yep.
Okay. I also did a video on that if you guys are interested, but in a nutshell, APU cannot feed the NTI system. Now, I would not bet money that it doesn't show on the NTI's page. It's weird to me that it's shown. Like, honestly, I've never opened this page even to see that the APU is connected. If at any point we would use the NTIs, remember when I told you that the pack system and the bleed system is highly automatic? We don't need to do a thing. We just need to command the NTIs to on, and the APU bleeder valve will just turn off.
Okay.
Automatically. It would not be part of the NTI system, I don't think.
Okay, so it's one of these things that are just so set and forget that, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there as well. When the developers in the 737 ask me things, I've been like, "What are you asking? We have that on our plane?"
Exactly. Like, so it's so obvious to me
Yeah.
that the APU is not part of the NTI's game.
Yeah.
That let's say, I'll say differently. The only times I ever looked at the NTI system synoptic page is to check if one of the valves have malfunctioned, which sometimes they do. But at this point, the APU is always off. You know what? I'm going to make myself useful. I'm going to look it up right now just to give you a clear answer on that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at this, the one thing that does spring to my eyes over here is that we have green lines up there behind the closed valves. I guess those are not supposed to be there, but
Right.
apart from that, I guess we'll see the rest later on then, shall we?
Right, and I can already give you the answer. The APU can be shown as part of this synoptic page. So that's actually correct that we see the APU.
Yep.
We just would expect to see that the APU bleed valve would be shut off whenever we actually want to use the APU.
Okay. Perfect. So then let's go on to the next page. Engine maintenance they have over here. I guess that is not something you guys really look at?
No, never.
Okay.
It's some very, very specific failures, usually with maintenance, either on premises or on the front.
Okay. Yeah, then maintenance page is grayed out, and the last one we have is system config.
Yeah.
But that is nice to see they have the registration number there. Is that 429 Yankee X-ray? Yeah, that's actually what we're sitting
and
in.
I do think it's an elegant solution for flight simmers to see that they have the correct version for the admin. I think it's a nice, elegant solution for that.
Yeah, absolutely. In the 737, we also have that on the island page of the FMS now, but this is visually even nicer, of course.
Yep.
But well, we're talking like 2 separate generations of avionics here, so... Okay.
Yeah. We're both children of the magenta, we can agree on that.
Yep, absolutely. Alright. Then
we'll move on over here. Autobreaker would typically be later.
Okay.
We just want to see the standby instruments. So there's no flags. They do take 90 seconds to align, so by now they're long aligned.
Yep.
And we want to see that emergency parking brake, it's just a parking brake, it's on. That's the indication that we have that it's on.
Okay.
And the other ground proximity terrain inhibit, that's like it is, it's blank right now. Then we move on to the ICAS. First of all, I want to see no special messages over there in the right ICAS over there. So a bleed APU valve open, that's absolutely makes sense. Steer off absolutely makes sense. Probably we would see yaw damper off because it needs either hydraulic 1 or 3 to be pressurized to initiate itself.
Yeah, so the yaw damper just turned itself on automatically there. It
is automatic. It does operate automatically. I'm
Okay.
just saying that when we just start the airplane up to begin with, it would not have hydraulic pressure, so it would show me a cyan indication, advisor indication that says, "Hey, I'm off."
Okay.
It does turn itself automatically on. I don't have to touch it unless I want to.
Okay, so I don't need to worry about the switch and the green light up here.
No. We barely touch it. If for some reason it did not turn on, I can press it, force it, and make sure that it is on.
Okay.
The rest over here, I just want to see that's basically all normal indications. Yeah, as you would expect from any engine. It looks pretty good. I'm missing the, you see, so above the N1, on the very top of the screen, above the ATTCS. So over there we would see in blue the what thrust limit do we have right now. So takeoff 1, takeoff 2. So we would expect to see something there. So it's not showing. And so there's usually by default when you just start up the airplane, it's going to be takeoff 1, I believe, and you can see some kind of values that are pre-calculated. So, you know, without even putting anything in the computer, you do have something. It's not like, oh, the computer says, no, I can't work. There is some default value before you ever put anything in.
Okay. Alright, and I do seem to remember from your video you said something about the oil pressure that should show red here since it's 0?
Yep, so the oil pressure, when it says 0 and below a certain value, I don't remember the value, it's like a red tape around the number 0.
Okay.
Another thing I can see here, the vibrations, LP and HP. Obviously it's 0, which is good. I don't know why it's a -0. But and then a slat flap, we want to see the value 0.
Okay.
Like there's the 0 over there, the indication. For some reason it's not. Hence also something I covered.
Yeah. So
the rest. Yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. So just for those guys who joined recently, since I saw the number of viewers just grew to over 300 already.
Oh well.
Just something I want to say once again at this point is that Ithai, who is giving us all those explanations, is a real-life Embraer captain, and he does have a YouTube channel called Crew Rest. You can find it linked in the video description below, so do definitely check him out. He's doing a very good job, just like he's very good at explaining to us right now. He's doing the same thing on his channel, and he's got some great tutorials that are pretty similar to mine that I did for the 737. So I can absolutely recommend you, if you want to fly that Embraer, do check his channel out. He's doing an awesome job on it.
Thank you, man. Coming from you, I really do appreciate it.
One thing that I just see here, we have a cabin rate of climb of 9 feet a minute indicated. I guess that is something...
Yeah, I did not notice it. Good job. I guess we better move on because before we run out of oxygen.
We're at 700 feet right now. Let's calculate. When do we get to 10,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some time. Okay.
Exactly, we have some time.
Okay. Obviously, just to be a little bit of a stickler and say, yeah, we're not pressurizing because the door is open and because we don't want to.
Absolutely. Alright, so...
yeah, moving down, so we're making sure everything looks good on the panel. Obviously the chrono and the elapsed time clock, we would not see the values over there, we would just at this stage see the UTC time.
So they should be like blanked out up here on the top and on the bottom field.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Gear is down, we would have checked before we powered up the airplane. ELT is armed, then the two GPW, yeah, exactly, those two switches that relate to the GPWS, they're blanked. Moving down, we would make sure that the flight control mode, everything is blanked out over there, the shaker cutouts, power plant, so the engine start-stop switches to stop. The ignition overrides are in auto. Then we would move down. We would have, ICAS full. So, quick talk about the ICAS full mode. The ICAS right now, as we see it, is full of information. Once we've got the APU off, the landing gear up, and the flaps up, 30 seconds later, the ICAS significantly depopulates. So we don't see any unnecessary stuff. So in flight, if all of a sudden I see a full ICAS display, I'm suspecting I missed something that's going wrong, for example, like an engine vibration. So I'm not seeing, for example, the engine vibrations, I'm not seeing it all the time when I'm flying. But if for some reason I want to investigate something, I can hit ICAS full, and then it populates everything. Exactly. So right now on the ground we won't see a difference, we can check it in the air again. And then we exactly coming back off. Obviously the speed brakes should be up, the flaps should be excuse me, down there, the flaps should be up. the RAT manual deploy switch, we want to make sure that it's stowed correctly, that the RAT has not been messed with, and the ram air turbine. So yeah, it's kind of funny that such a short haul airplane has a ram air turbine to help us power some capacity of AC power if we lose both engines and we have the APU enough, for example. We do have some AC power production, and the reason it's so important is because this airplane is so highly automatic, and we do have a lot of systems that require it's fly-by-wire, so a lot of systems are fed by computer inputs. So we definitely want as soon as possible to get some AC power.
Okay.
Yeah. Then pretty much, so this is an audio control panels for both the captain and the first officer. When we need to mess with it, I can tell you about it. But it looks like a good configuration. We would check the door at one point, especially for the first flight of the day.
Yep.
This is how it looks, and then the trim. We would individually check each system.
Yep.
We want to actually let's test it. So if you pitch trim for more than 3 seconds, the trim should stop what it's doing and should yell at you, trim, trim.
Okay. Do I need to use the backup switch over there, or shall I use the primary trim switches that are assigned to my control color?
I mean, we check both, but they both have the same function.
Okay, so in order to show it over here, I'll just quickly use my primary.
Okay.
Okay, it stops at 0.8 up.
That's good.
But it doesn't yell at me.
So that's not realistic, but so it should yell at you. I want to yell at you right now. But yeah, it should say trim, trim. And then we just check it in the other direction, and then we would check the other one.
Yeah.
So
okay.
The one in the central pedestal takes precedence over the ones on the yoke. So let's say if my yoke switches, the electrical connections are stuck for some reason, the one that you're touching right now with the mouse on the pedestal, that takes precedence over it.
Okay, so even though it's backup, it's more like, well, override.
Exactly, that's in command, to be honest. So once you touch that, it should take over.
Yeah, but there's
another protection. There's another protection that if any of the trim switches is active for more than 7 seconds, it automatically takes this particular trim control out of the equation.
Okay, there is one thing very nice that I just noticed about the trim system, and that is, while it doesn't scream at us, it does stop. So I'm just pressing the button once again right now, and after 3 seconds it actually stops. And this tells me something about the airplane system depth, because we know the airplane is in early access right now, but most certainly the trim stopping after 3 seconds is not a default Microsoft Flight Simulator feature. So we can see that even though, as we saw, there is quite some stuff on the system pages that still needs work, that there is some custom code behind this, and it does show that this is not an exclusive default level airplane, but there is some custom code of the developers implemented already, even though not 100% there yet, but it does show that there is some stuff going on behind the scenes that might not be obvious to everybody straight away. So that's something positive I'm taking out of this.
I agree.
Okay, so I guess looking at a couple of...
Just from my own eye irritation, put it back to the green band. 4.0 is a good value.
Okay.
Green band is obviously a good takeoff range, so if everything fails, at least we want to be in a decent range.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So I see a couple of people in the comments saying if we continue at this level of detail, we'll eventually end up being in the air in 17 hours. So shall we go into the MCDU and start programming our route?
Yep. So I would start with the CB page, circuit breaker page on the right.
Yeah. Hold on a second, I'm trying to. For some reason, whenever my mouse is in the mode where I'm looking around and it goes over the screen, the simulator kind of freezes. I'm always a little bit afraid that it might crash the desktop. But stand by. It's frozen right now again. Come on, don't crash, please. This is something that I noticed a couple times already. When I take the mouse, while I'm looking around, while I'm holding the right mouse key, and the mouse goes over the screen of the MCDU, things do seem to act up at times. But here we are again. Okay.
Okay. So CB page on the right.
Yep.
So good. No CBs out and locked. These are remote circuit breakers.
Yep.
Now we can go to nav.
Yep.
And nav ident. That's good. We check the date. We check the nav data that's active. We check the UTC time. And then we would have a prompt to align the IRSs from here.
Okay, that should be somewhere down here, should it?
Yeah, let's try to make our way in another way to this page. So hit nav again.
Yep.
Now good. Let's see. Go to page 2.
Yep.
Then pause in it on the right. There we go. So
Okay.
I guess it's just not active, yeah, but we would just select load next to GPS 1 and we want to see that it's loaded.
Yeah, it does say loaded up here. Even though we can't click it, it does say that it has loaded it. I
So
guess.
I'm guessing they resolved it to just do it automatically for us, and that's why we skip this in this add-on. But
Yep.
in real life, we go through here,
Okay.
and then go to RTE. Actually, it's a load 27, so it does load it for us, but I do think we still go to this page.
Okay.
Maybe. Okay, Detroit. Now, I don't need to tell you how to set up an MCDU.
No, one thing I do want to point out over here, when we have the mouse over the screen, we see this little box coming up there, and then we can actually type with our physical keyboard, making things a little bit easier. So we are going towards KBoss. But just one thing before I enter that. This seems to be the only page where I can change the flight ID. Let me just quickly go ahead and type a flight number over there, so that we later on have it on the displays.
Fantastic. And just for enrichment, we can also change the flight ID from the radio page. I can show you later if you want.
Okay, we do that later. So, then we're going towards Boston. That little loading symbol there, is that accurate? I'm just wondering.
No, and I think they mentioned that this is there's like a mini freeze for this MCDU, and they didn't want us to think that it crashed or something.
Ah, okay.
It doesn't actually show this.
Yeah. Okay, so then we go to departure, runway, and now comes the big question what we're going from. F21 right, that should be close to our terminal as well, I guess.
Let's say, you know what, conveniently I have the actual HOTAS from real life.
Oh, do you?
I do. Fancy like that. So, Detroit Information Yankee, 130 at 5 knots, 8 statute miles, overcast 6,500, 4 degrees, altimeter 2991, departing 21 right and 22 left. So
Okay.
I'll be a good
right it is.
you know what, 22 left is right next to us. Like, we're literally right there. 22 left.
22 left, okay. So,
If you...
yeah, I just selected that runway already. The best way to get back is just go back to the nav page?
You can hit nav, you can go to the previous page. Ah, that's fine.
Ah,
you can
sorry, I just...
again.
Yeah, I just did flight plan, departure, runway.
Great.
So you said 22 right, yeah?
22 left.
22 left, perfect. And then we have the Howie 3 departure. Now people are gonna hit me again for my pronunciation of American waypoints, but well, I'll have to live with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live with that as a job, so it's okay.
All right.
Well, at least I get paid for it.
True that. Okay, so you said in your original tutorial there would be a discontinuity here, and you would basically have to close that. Now, I would recommend everybody. Sorry, for everybody who is really interested in the entire full procedure, do watch Itai's videos on his channel CrewRest, because that is really in detail, and it goes to show you guys exactly how he does it. So for us, the thing closed automatically. So I guess we can just go ahead and type our stuff now.
Yep, I can read things to you.
Yeah, please.
Good. Quebec 82. And now let me just show you another quick.
Wait a moment. I clicked Quebec and it changed the view.
Oh.
Sorry, it might have been a bad assignment of the MSFS controls on my side. Okay, so let's try that again. So Quebec 82.
Now, before you put it in.
Oh, sorry, I'm too quick.
No. Yeah, just take it out. I just want to show you a quick trick.
Okay, so I go
That's
delete
unique.
and on that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, so write in the scratchpad Quebec 82.
Yeah.
Dot. Then PONCT.
Okay.
Exactly. And put that in.
And that goes on the left or on the right side?
On the left.
Okay, ending waypoint not found.
Okay.
Maybe I
So
did a
the
typo,
trick-
let me try that again.
Let's see.
Quebec 82 dot Papa Oscar November Charlie Tango. That looks correct to me now. Let's try that once again. No, again, ending waypoint not found.
Interesting. Anyway, it should populate both routes and ending waypoint at the same time.
Okay. Wait a moment. When I try to insert that like this, it doesn't work either. Papa Oscar November Charlie Tango. That is correct, isn't it?
Yep, that's confirmed.
Okay, no, doesn't take it. Tells me ending waypoint not found.
Okay, let's work around it. I'm gonna go to the waypoints, the navlog, and I'm gonna find the point before Ponset, which is Lima Oscar X-ray X-ray Echo.
Okay, so let me try that one. And that actually works. I can insert that using your trick.
Yep, that's pretty cool. Nice job.
Perfect.
So now you can insert the star. So you'd go to arrival.
Yeah. I guess
In my SOP, you can put the entire runway approach as star. For us in pre-flight, we just put the star in, and later during the flight put the runway approach. Up to you.
Okay. Seeing that the developer wants us to stick to the script, let's put the entire thing in just to be sure we don't mess with the add-on.
Sure.
Which runway would you recommend?
I'll tell you in just one moment. Right now, for right.
Alright, perfect. And that's gonna be ILS from Gashi.
Yep.
Okay, and we have the J Fund 2 from Tonkt. Okay, that looks correct to me.
Correct as well.
Well. Okay, so I guess the airplane should show you the star just like it does on the SID over here, right?
Yeah.
And not insert every single waypoint as a direct. But
Right.
I suppose that might be one of the workarounds the developers mentioned. Because they did mention that they did some workarounds over the default insertion. But anyway, the waypoints are there.
To be completely honest, it sometimes shows a funky way also in the real airplane, especially if you modify like a specific altitude constraint. That when it goes to all directs like that. So I guess.
Okay. All right. Cool. So then we continue on performance.
Yeah, you should have a prompt. For some reason you don't, but yeah, we can go to. Oh, perfect. Okay.
If I go to if I go here, it ended me on page 5 out of 6 from the active route, and I just pressed next page to get to page 6 out of 6, which looks like alternate flight plan here, and over there it does have the permanent prompt. So.
Right. So here we actually do have an alternate this flight. We would put the alternate as it looks kind of like another route, but I see that it's grayed out. But yeah, you can move on.
Yep, so that doesn't seem to be implemented quite yet. Okay, so perfect. Now that is something that I actually wondered upon. We have takeoff/landing fuel. What values do I actually need to put in there?
That's a very good question. It's kind of misleading. It's not the actual fuel on takeoff or landing. It's the fuel until takeoff and the fuel after landing. So it's essentially taxi fuel.
Ah, okay.
So as a landing value, we always use 200, and as a takeoff value, we use whatever taxi fuel we have before takeoff. So in our case, I think it's 270.
Yeah, it is.
So 270/200.
Okay, man, that is really Okay.
You see, that would mess up your fuel calculation tremendously.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Okay.
Yeah, the fuel reserve, you can see 30 minutes. If you hit or, you can choose like an actual value. So 2205, 2200 is a good value. It doesn't matter for our purposes, but whatever the flight plan says as the min reserve, that's what we put over there.
Okay. Is that just the final reserve, or is that final reserve plus alternate?
Just final reserve, because remember, we do have in the route page, we can input the alternate flight plan. So we have the min reserve, and then the computer knows what would be the flight plan to the alternate. So in a way, you don't need to input the alternate fuel separately.
Okay, perfect.
You don't want to do it double, that's what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Okay, so then I guess we return and go to next page. Oh, performance in it. Let's see that. Cruise level 350, they say? Cruise winds, that's the average, I suppose.
Yep.
176 at 56. Then, well, the CGs, we have no way to find them in the tablet quite yet, so can't enter that. I'll just keep it at the default.
Right.
Step INC, I guess that would be like, I want to do step climbs in 2,000 foot increments, so if...
Yeah, exactly. We don't use it. We just keep it at 0
Okay.
in my company.
Yeah. And ISA deviation, well.
Obviously at cruise, we would use it, but...
Okay. Then, zero fuel weight. On my very first flight on the Embraer, I did a mistake there, and I just entered, like, currently, according to the plan, we have 64.4, so I entered 64. Now,
Yep.
the plane accepted that, and then I was wondering why I get V-speeds in the region of 30 knots. Would the real airplane accept something like 64?
No, it would say invalid entry.
Okay. So I actually need to type 64-400, and then...
Yep.
Okay.
That's a reasonable gross weight. Yep, the flight plan says 73.3, which means we have pretty much exactly the taxi fuel to burn.
Yeah, I just see. 2,902 is exactly what we need as off-block, so we gotta call the fueler again. Yep, no, we do. But well.
No, we have the tolerance. That's okay.
Okay. Okay, and then page 303, it's basically all grayed out to the econ speeds, but that is not implemented by the developer yet.
Yep, because it's part of what FMS speeds are going to be used, and FMS speeds don't work here.
So just to show a couple pages, this is basically what it looks like. You can choose between econ and reset speed.
If anyone is interested, I honestly just uploaded a video that's going to talk about the FMS and extensively about VNAV and the FMS speed. So if you're interested, you can see what it's about.
Perfect. I'm absolutely interested. I'm gonna watch this right after the stream.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've got the performance initialization complete. So I guess the only thing that remains is the takeoff performance.
Yep.
So for that, I go perf again, and then takeoff. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, to be honest, in my company, we don't input to begin with the zero fuel weight, and we just wait until boarding is complete, everything is done, and then we do as one performance, zero fuel weight. After you put the zero fuel weight, it takes you to perf data page, which I think is on the right. Yep, there you go. And it just automatically takes you over there, and then you can just verify that you have good ETE, ETA, fuel remaining on landing, and gross weight on landing, which honestly doesn't seem so. Something seemed off over there.
Yep, I mean 3 minutes for almost 600 miles. That would be quite fast.
But still, in those 3 minutes, managed to burn about what was it, 5,000 pounds. So well, anyway,
if we accelerate the airplane to that speed, certainly would burn that much. But okay,
we can probably get to the International Space Station by then. So,
yeah.
Okay, then we use the takeoff prompt as it's logical. Yeah, and we would verify the inputs.
Okay, I just need to go to takeoff init over here.
Okay.
In the simulation. Is that a page you have in the plane? Or is that something the developers...
No, it's absolutely there. To be honest, we don't really change anything over there because it's allowing the airplane to access its own like database for basically the calculations, but we have it external.
Okay, on this one we need to put the winds in so that it is able to calculate something.
Go for it. I can give you the winds even.
Sure.
Because I'm being a good first officer. It's 110 at 7.
110 at 7. Thank you very much, Ethan. Okay, and here we go.
Is there a second page over there? Let's see what it says.
There is.
Flaps. So that's something we would verify also, that the takeoff in its flaps is correct. So flaps 2 is a good standard.
Yep. We have the option here to change flaps 1, 2, 4, but you say 2 is like a very good standard to go for if we don't have a performance calculator at hand?
Well, yeah, flaps 2 is the go-to. That's what we use standard. If we absolutely need to, we'd use 4, and I've on a few occasions used 1 when I need the performance after takeoff.
Okay.
Then we can go to the takeoff page, and let's see if it actually did something.
It did.
Oh, beautiful.
Do those speeds look about correct for you?
Yeah, make total sense.
Perfect.
Before we forget, let's put the V2 into the MCP, the guidance panel.
I can see that thing.
Yeah.
Here we go, 138 is in there. Okay.
And now,
yep.
A bit counterintuitive, we would press toga.
Okay. So, buttons are hidden down here.
Yep.
Toga. And we get the indications up here as well.
Looks good.
Okay. Just something I wondered. Whenever I press toga, I lose my I call it MCP altitude. I'm a Boeing guy.
Okay.
Is that normal that it dashes out up here?
No, it doesn't. But if you want the initial altitude for the SID, Howie 3 is 17,000.
17,000. Lovely.
Yep.
I wish we had these lovely initial climbs in Europe as well. Like, we have them on the Canaries, we have them in Israel, but all those intermediate level offs, especially going from London, that is horrible. But
yeah, it's not common to have these high ups, but it's nice when you do have it.
Okay. Just a quick question. Flex temperature, how would you input that?
Okay, that's a good question. That's the next step actually in our setup. So you would go in the MCDU to TRS page, which is short for thrust rating selection.
Okay.
And now we basically verify the climb 1 is, or climb 2, whatever we want. Then takeoff data set. And now we want ATTCS on, ref ECS on, NTIs off. I see that it's not even active.
Yep.
And then we would set the takeoff temperature, because remember our temperature probes are not reliable on the ground, so we would have to manually set whatever temperature it is. So I see it's grayed out. Luckily it is 5 degrees, so it's good enough. And then flex takeoff, we will turn it to on.
Yeah, that is all grayed out over here, but
if you do that, you have a prompt to set the flex temperature.
Okay. So basically, ADX on, reference ECS on, NTIs as needed, verify the temperature in here is correct, then turn this on and the prompt shows up to tells us the flex temperature we need.
Exactly.
Alright. Okay.
Now for our operation, ATTCS ADX, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it's a must, so we would have to use ADX. The rest is optional based on how much performance do you need.
Okay, so that would actually be normal procedure to use that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright, so with that we are pretty much done with the FMS, are we?
Pretty much. Yep. I would set probably the radio page if I need any nav radios. I would check the individual flight plan points on the SID as well, for example.
Okay, so flight plan over here. All that is all default markers of Flight Simulator at the moment, so I would say we're just happy with it and don't start mocking about it, because otherwise we'll open a can of worms over here.
Yep.
But at least quickly checking through it, doesn't have any discounts and doesn't have anything where it would tell me like a couple thousand miles, so it seems like the waypoints we inserted are all reasonable. Okay. There is something I've been wondering about earlier, that is on the radio page. On the video on your channel you said that basically you would be using auto-tuning for the nav radio.
Yep.
I didn't find any way how to get into that. Could you explain how that goes?
Sure. You go to progress page, a little bit counterintuitive.
Yeah.
And you know what? It might not be the same in load 27. So you can go to radio page probably, and over there you can just press delete button, and then on the appropriate nav frequency.
Okay, that tells me invalid entry here, but I guess it's just not simulated then, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it's okay.
Yep. Okay, so for the frequencies we'll just stick with what we have.
Oh, for the TCAS use, if you press the prompt TCAS XPDR,
yeah,
you can select which function do you have. So we would typically on the ground set alt on until we're ready for departure, and then go back to radio page, radio 1-2.
Fortunately, not that is grayed out over here, so I can't do it. But yeah.
And then before, when we were about ready to push, we would just hit where the standby prompt is. We would just turn it, just transponder.
Okay. But what I can do over here right now is, if I hit that once, then this white TARA shows up that we had selected up here. And if I hit it again, I can turn that green.
Yep. So to begin with, it would show either standby or TARA. You would not need to hit standby first, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So with that, I would say we are pretty much ready to go, aren't we?
Yep. I guess auto brake RTO.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to translate my flows to what we are doing. Roughly, at this point, we would turn the passenger signs on, and probably the red beacon if we're getting ready for the push, and then the hydraulics to 3A to on, and that I leave up to you. In my operation, we turn electric hydraulic pumps 1 and 2 to on. I leave it up to you whether to leave it on or not.
Yeah, I'm just checking the developer's manuals because I don't want to mess the plane over with something that the developer doesn't advise us to do at the moment. That's not listed in the developer's manuals, so you got me curious. Okay, so you say the electric pumps for system 1 and 2?
Yep.
Okay. So right now we are operating outside of what the developer said, but I just want to see.
Okay. So we would see definitely an ICAS message, hydraulic pumps not auto, in cyan. It's not showing.
Okay.
Let's go to the hydraulic synoptic page like I was interrupting you from doing. That actually looks good.
Okay. So it is like almost there, only the ICAS message they need to add.
Yep. But the good thing about what we just did is now, even though the engines are on, we do have pressure for the brake system, which is kind of nice.
Yep, most certainly. Yep, I still remember that memo from my airline when, like 2 years ago, they didn't have anyone in the cockpit and they prepared the aircraft for towing at night, and all of a sudden they found the aircraft in the fuel station after the tow bar broke. But, yep.
Okay.
Yep, one of those oopsie moments.
Someone's gonna have a hard day, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, perfect. So, the GSX
Captain, how
pushback
about a checklist?
Yeah, that sounds good. So, could you please give me the safety and power up and before start checklists down to the line?
Absolutely. Safety and power up checklist. Flight deck.
Checked.
Emergency equipment.
Checked.
Maintenance status.
Checked.
GPU.
Still available. Well, do we have any way to get rid of that? Doesn't really look like it. Okay, we'll pretend we haven't seen that. It's gonna be someone else paying for it.
Exactly. APU gen.
In?
Batteries 1 and 2.
does it say off on here? That doesn't make sense on the checklist. Well, they're
well,
on.
I think they're confusing the procedure with the checklist here.
Okay.
Okay, non-standard. On fuel pumps.
Auto.
Emergency lights.
Non-standard armed.
Windshield wipers.
Off.
AC, hydraulic system 1, 2, and 3, the electric pumps.
Auto. And on.
And hydraulic system 3, A.
Non-standard armed.
Landing gear lever.
Down.
Power plant start stop 1 and 2.
Up.
Speed brake lever.
Down.
Thrust levers.
Idle.
Batteries 1 and 2.
Now they're on.
Slat flap lever.
Agrees with the surface position.
Checked. Fire extinguisher panel.
Correct.
Electrical panel and air conditioning.
Established.
Safety and power up checklist complete. Before start checklist pre-flight checks.
Complete.
Fuel quantity.
Okay, we got 9160. We need 9202. Is that acceptable in your operation?
Yes, we do have a 300-pound tolerance for that.
Okay, perfect. Because in my operation we'd have to call the fuel truck now. But perfect. If you have that tolerance, you're the Embraer guy. So the fuel is checked.
Checked. MCDU.
Okay, for SAT, I guess you put something like the performance page on the left side, or on the PF side, and
Normally we would just say set at this point, just to make sure we've done everything.
okay, so
Later on we check the actual performance, we have another spot to do that in the checklist.
okay, then set.
Set. Crew oxygen.
Checked.
Altimeters, 2991, excuse me, 2988 set.
I've got 2991 and reading 640 cents.
Okay, I just kind of sneakily brought into the current one.
Okay, because I just pressed B as well when you said it to be sure if the simulator had changed it, but looks like the simulator is a little bit behind the actual one then.
Okay, cross-checked by me. Flight instruments.
That?
Passenger signs.
On.
Takeoff briefing.
We talked so extensively, we consider that complete.
Complete. Before start checklist completes. To the line. I see the line.
Okay, so we have the cockpit door closed. We have the equipment removed. We check that from the outside as well. And that definitely looks like we are ready to go.
Okay.
I'm happy with that. Okay, so, before start checks below the line, please.
Below the line, seatbelt shoulder harness.
Correct.
Second performance.
Set.
Auto brake.
RTO.
Trim.
That's sent out.
Doors, windows.
I guess we will check for them on the page at this moment.
Absolutely.
They are closed.
You're a fast learner. Closed. Beacon.
On.
Transponder.
On.
Parking brake.
Remains on for now.
Checked. Engine. Now it just calls for the engine start, so we'll consider 4-star checklist complete.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing here that they call it a checklist, while I have the feeling what they post as checklist is actually the flow and not the real checklist, is it?
Yeah, I would think so.
And they have a little checklist down here that we can pull out from this still bar, but that seems... Well, that seems to be like... That's not the checklist.
No, again,
engine
like startup. Yeah.
No. It's kind of a mixture between a flow and a checklist.
I think so.
Yeah. It's something in flight simulation they really confuse all the time, but let's talk about that en route. We still have an hour and a half of flight to do, and we are already an hour and 15 into the stream.
Yeah, I'm with you, Captain.
Alright. Okay, so GSX, let me going. I guess we need the nose to the right hand side, so let's go nose right.
While you push, I will just apologize to the streamers for the maybe too in depth, but when you set up the cockpit to begin with, that's when you actually check all the systems. Once everything is running, you just kind of let it go.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't intend it to go that much in detail as well, but when you started providing that insight, I thought it was so interesting, and I thought you provided such a good insight there that there was absolutely no way I would interrupt you in that.
Thank you. And just for the viewers, I want to put a disclaimer to myself. I did give Emmanuel full permission to just tell me, "Hey, Itai, shut up. We need to move." So you're the captain. I'm throwing you under the bus.
As always, as long as you have somebody to point to, everything is good.
It's nice for a change. It's nice for a change to say, "Hey, PIC, right? Yeah, okay."
Yep. And for once, I am in a position where I can't just point to anyone. Usually I'm the one, since I'm an UFO. Usually I'm the one just saying, "Yep, look that other side. It's not me. I'm innocent."
Look to the left, but you can see no one. You can see your reflection maybe on the window.
Oh, I see the ramper. We blame it on the ramp agent.
Let's blame him. That's fine. I saw it. He did everything wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Done.
Lovely to see that it works the same way everywhere around the world.
Oh yeah. Some things don't change.
No, not at all. Okay, so parking brake is set. While they disconnect the equipment, let's get into the engine start. You said you guys start the number 1 first?
Exactly. We start number 1 first. It does complement single engine taxi if we need to. I would, like I said, I would glance at the system status pressure. It's not realistic really, but once it looks good, I would just say start engine 1, and we would just simply put the power plant start-stop switch to start then run, and let the FADE take it away.
Alright, so over here we would check we have the pressure. Now, we have the little workaround over here right now. Going to the ECS page, we have the pressure, so then start engine 1. Run, start, goes automatically back into run. I guess we start the timer as well.
That's correct. So we want to see the N2 starts running at 7%. We want to see that some ignition is turning on. At 20%, we want to see the fuel being introduced. It's all happening automatically. We just need to monitor.
Left is clear.
Well, this one just put the fuel on at 22. How would I check the ignition?
It's not shown, but right next to the ITT over there, you would see the letters I, G, N, A, or B.
Okay.
So it's not shown here.
Okay.
And then obviously we have N1. We have good light up. We don't say anything, but we just monitor. Usually it's the first officer job to monitor that, while the captain is dealing with making sure that the ground crew have disconnected correctly.
Yeah.
Now, in my airline, and I'm assuming in most airlines, it's standard procedure to taxi out on one engine until for sure there's no more delays. And since we're very close to the other runway, in real life I would just go ahead and start both engines. It's up to you if you just want to see how it does.
I would say, seeing the current shape of the project, we just go ahead and start number 2 so that we don't force any issues that we can avoid.
I agree.
But you do say that single engine taxi would normally be normal procedures in the jets?
Absolutely. So honestly, the standard for us would be to start just engine 1 and complete that after start, taxi out everything, and when takeoff is confirmed to be within the next 3 to 5 minutes, this is when we fire up number 2.
Okay. Okay, so for the purpose of Sim, we'll start number 2 straight away, but I'm going to try that eventually in another live stream. Just for this one, you know, I don't want to force any issues that that we don't that we can avoid.
Yep.
So 20% fuel should come on. Yeah, it does it at 22 on this one. Hydraulic too low pressure is flashing there. Is that normal?
Well, it wouldn't be, because at this point, remember, we have both hydraulics, all 3 hydraulics already pressured.
Yeah.
Because of the hydraulic pumps,
Okay.
the electric hydraulic pumps. So we would not see it pressurizing again. It would be already pressurized.
Okay.
But now we do see the hydraulic pump, not autos, which we should have seen earlier.
Okay. So it is there, they just have to adjust the phase of flight where it shows them. that's once again good to see, because it goes to show that there is some code in the systems there that we might not necessarily see yet, but it goes to show that they do have something going on in the background. So it's not entirely default, but there is something going on in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, once the two engines have started, there's a little flow. Now we would go to turn the electric hydraulic pumps back to auto.
Mm-hmm.
Once both engines have been started,
Yep.
we would turn off the APU. And at that point, we would get the flaps too. And check the flight controls.
Okay, so... Then let's go full up, full down, full up. Is it normal that the spoilers only come out this little?
No, they would come up a little bit more. But we don't, as we just check the direction because the system, it's fly-by-wire, so it modulates as it's needed. Probably at this stage it will modulate a lot more, but we're not actually checking the full. Just that there is a deflection, it's the right direction.
Yeah. By the way, nice to see. Now we started the plane up, the P-bits are actually counting down. So once again, there is something simulated in the background there.
Yep. Our target today is to reach Boston before we reach 0 in the electric.
If not, then I'm gonna come over to the States and get you that beer in that bar.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So,
And at that point, it would be a good time for the after start checklist.
okay, go ahead, please.
After start checklist, flaps.
Set 2.
2. IPU.
Off.
Hydraulic system 3, electric pump A.
On.
Flight controls.
Correct.
Taxi light nose side.
I suppose we'd only put those on once we receive taxi clearance?
Correct.
Okay, so we've just got taxi clearance, so those are on.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah.
After start checklist complete.
Okay, clear on the left and clear on the right. Then park and brake released. Now in the manuals it said the airplane would usually start taxiing in idle thrust. In the simulation it doesn't. What would you say? What should happen?
Yeah, this airplane has a lot of power when two engines are operating. That's part of the reason we're taxiing single engine as a standard, because on two engines it just wants to fly, even at idle. It really, if you don't pay attention, it would go over 30 knots in no time.
Oh, okay.
Just in idle.
Yeah.
And obviously now, while we're taxiing, we would switch the MFD to system status page, because this is when we can see the brake temperatures on the very bottom.
Okay, so in this one I do need a little bit of thrust to get it rolling. But as you can see, really just a tiny bit above idle.
Yeah, that's okay. Again, in idle, maybe if you're stationary, you needed a little bit of a nudge, especially if you're very heavy, which we're not too heavy today, to be honest. But once you get started at idle, if you don't touch it, it just wants to go.
Okay,
so we would monitor closely the brake temperatures at the bottom over there. We just need to make sure they're not in the amber range by the time we take off.
Yeah, the brake temperatures are these down here? Those showing around? Okay. Yeah, we're showing clear right, clear left. So how much runway does the 175 usually need?
If you are in a situation like that, when I'll tell you it this way, we take off from Key West with no problem. It's a 4,000 foot runway.
Okay, that's an answer.
Yeah, we can probably do less than that, but that's places we fly regularly.
Perfect. Then at least nobody can shout at me for just going straight over here to that runway.
No, you're probably gonna be safe.
Yeah. So you say I can lift off, do a touch and go straight out on the same runway?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, made it to the holding point.
Nice.
Then, we have a before takeoff checklist, please.
Before takeoff checklist, cabin.
Secured?
Yeah, I heard them call secured. Takeoff data.
Reviewed?
ICAS.
Checked. Nothing showing there. That is pretty much what we're looking for, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Brake temp.
Correct.
takeoff config. Now, before you hit takeoff config, make sure the parking brake is not set.
Okay, I'm sitting on the pedals right now, so...
Very good.
Takeoff, okay.
That's very good. And lights, strobe, landing, inspection lights.
Let's put them on now. We've got... You heard the takeoff clearance, did you?
I did, absolutely.
Okay,
Twice.
perfect. So, on.
Before takeoff check is complete.
Alright, so for the takeoff procedure then. There is pretty much nothing in the manuals that would tell me how to fly this plane. Can you talk us through the standard operating procedure on the takeoff? And
absolutely. So already as you are taxiing into the runway, we would hit the auto throttle button. So we can see it's arming it. And we can see that LNAV is armed. That's part of Epic Load 27. So LNAV is armed. So it should just activate as we are going into the air. So basically, we would advance the throttle. Once we're lined up, we would advance the throttle to 40%, make sure it's stabilized, and then advance it just a little bit further, around 60% and then that's when the auto throttle takes over and pushes it all the way to the toga detent. So you would say toga, I would say toga set, which I would just verify that the ATTCS got armed and that the takeoff prompt on the FMA changed from armed to active. 80 knots checked as we always do. V1 rotate, we would rotate, positive rate gear up, that's very standard. At 400 feet we would verify, either select or verify that the roll mode is engaged. At 1,000 feet we would engage a vertical mode, so in our case we would have to do flight level change 210. So flight level change and dial the speed up to 210.
Yep.
And then accelerate. We should have F-bugs. So as we have the F-bugs, we would use them. In the lack of F-bugs, we can use the green dot. So green dot plus 10 is a good time to get the flap to the next stage.
Okay. I do seem to remember we have the green dots, so green dot plus 10 pretty much.
Yep.
Okay.
And at that point we're climbing as soon as so it's worthwhile. So just take a notice, we're taking off at flaps 2.
Yep.
The upper limit, the speed limit for flaps 2 is 215, so that's why 210 is a very good speed to accelerate to begin with. Once we're getting the airplane clean, we can accelerate to 250.
Okay. Alright, so to summarize that I don't act it up now, 40% stabilize, then say toga, push pretty much my hardware lever on my hardware throttle here all the way to maximum, and auto throttle is going to take over and set takeoff thrust for me. Then what would an initial pitch attitude be after rotation?
About 15.
Okay.
But the cluster that you're seeing, it should give you a good indication, but in the lack of 15 is a good attitude.
Okay. So yeah, we rotate 15, follow flight director, pretty much. At 1,000, buck up 210, retract the flaps as we are passing green dot plus 10, and clean it up. Once the flaps are up, we can accelerate to 50.
Yep, that's about it. After you've selected the flight level change, this is when you can, if you want, you can select Autopilot.
Okay.
From that point on.
Alright. So I do believe in this airplane flight level change comes on automatically, but we'll see about it. If you see me doing something, then please talk me through it. We want to do the stuff correctly.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let us start the little chrono up there. It's a habit of mine. So we have 40% stabilized. That toga. You have toga show up here, or takeoff show up here.
Yep, and I would say toga set. Knots.
Perfect.
V1. Rotate.
Although that the pitch hangs at 5 degrees there, I need to pull up more?
I guess a little.
Okay.
What's the rate?
You're up. have flight level change showing, then let's go on autopilot.
Okay. It would not automatically kick on, that's for sure.
Okay.
But I guess we passed 1,000, so we can do 210.
Yeah. Okay, 210. We are 10 knots above the green dot, so flaps 1.
Flaps 1. I'm saying as if I'm actually doing anything.
Yeah, flaps up.
Flaps up. Now, an interesting point is kind of unique in this airplane, and it's nicely modeled. The flight director is basically an FPV, and the flight director is just you trying to put the circle of the FPV to completely include the flight director.
So basically, we try to put the green circle up here on the magenta, similar-looking symbol up here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, then the flaps are retracted, so we can do 250, you said?
Yes.
And I guess with that, we can call for the after takeoff checklist.
After takeoff checklist, landing gear.
Up,
APU.
off,
Slat flaps.
up.
After takeoff checklist complete.
And I heard in a couple comments... Yeah, sorry?
No, the auto brake should pop automatically to off as soon as we lift off.
Perfect, that was exactly what I was about to ask. You read my mind.
Yeah. I know why, because in the 7.3 that's part of the after takeoff, yes?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Darn it, that guy even knows what he's talking about.
That's what I was thinking about you.
Yeah. Okay, we're entering some clouds there. Anti-ice seems to come on automatically. Do we?
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But we still put it on manually?
No, that's the beauty. We, in normal flights, we would not touch it.
Ooh, nice.
It tells you ice condition, and then it tells you, hey, by the way, I turned on the anti-ice for you.
You know what I'm thinking right now? Why the heck do I have to flick 4 switches for that?
Because you chose to work so hard. But look how much stronger your right hand is right now.
Yep, true that.
No pun intended.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No. But I would say this, we would see a little bit more messages, and once ice condition has been not detected anymore, we would still have the anti-ice on for a period of 2 more minutes after that.
Ah, okay.
So it doesn't automatically turn on and off as soon as the ice detection detects anything. Another thing is I can see that only the anti-ice wing valve opens. For some reason, it does not want to give us engine anti-ice, so we would have all 3.
Okay.
So we would see 2 messages: anti-ice wing valve open and anti-ice engine 1 and 2 valve open.
Okay. Now I actually need to find those anti-ice switches.
It's in the top right. It's just
up here. Okay.
Exactly, mode to on. That's as simple as that. So the actual buttons you were trying to press, those deactivate the specific system. Ah,
okay. So with the mode on, would we still get those white messages?
Yes, exactly, because the cyan is what is the system. It's the advisory of what is the system configured for, and then you would see the white is the status of the actual system. So you see, it should tell you, hey, the valve is in this and that position.
Okay. So just turn it back to auto, and we slowly start getting behind the airplane as we are already approaching 170. I'll just set this higher level 350 of the cruise.
Good.
So passing 10,000. Well, of course the airplane would have accelerated automatically in the real one because you would be using VNAV, but as we don't have VNAV. The developer says 270 knots, Mach 0.73. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's pretty standard. We use 0.74 for the Mach, but 270, 74. Okay. But 7.3 is also reasonable.
Alright, so let's do that.
And as for the flow, obviously the lights. everything. So conveniently, you just leave the first row, the nav, strobe, and red beacon. You leave them on. The rest you turn off.
Oh, nice.
And then the sterile sign, which is I think not modeled, correct?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
We can't click this one.
Okay, so it would have been on for takeoff. We would turn it off for 10,000.
So that's
It's-
like
it's
your reminder that
basically-
the cabin is secure.
Exactly. It's just communication to the flight attendants that we're not longer in a sterile cockpit.
Okay. So we are leaving the clouds right now. I guess at this point we'll just go seatbelts off as well, shall we?
Go for it.
Okay.
Nice. Another thing about anti-ice, well, we're actually pointing the nose in the right direction, so no one can blame me if I talk too much. So once the anti-ice has been turned on, we would also see a second message that would say stall protection, ice speeds, and it would stay on for the rest of the flight, no matter if ice condition is removed. It basically tells you that the entire the speed tapes for maneuvering speed and for the green dot, they pretty much jump up about 10 knots or so to compensate for possible icing on the airframe. So from now on, we would treat the airplane as extra 10 knots, and when we take, for example, the landing performance, we would take extra 10 knots on the VRF and V approach, and we would need significantly longer runway because of that.
Ah, perfect. The 737 does pretty much the same thing, it just doesn't tell the pilot, but you see it immediately that the amber band is so much closer to your approach speeds then.
Oh yeah, so it makes total sense. We also, in order to not just operate at the same speed, we would use higher speeds for the approach.
Okay, can I ask you a question? As we're just about in the turn over here. If we look at the HSI right now, this one, the bar deviates to the right. Well, over here it looks like we are on the route. Can you tell me something about if that HSI is looking correct to you? Because in my earlier video I said like, I don't think that looks correct, but now that we got the expert here.
Yeah, so the funny thing about Epic Load 27 is it doesn't just take the straight line between point to point. It also takes into account the curve that you are making, and actually the needle itself is going to change its course based on the predicted turn. Okay, so you would actually actively see the needle change course as you're completing the turn, but by the time you've completed the turn, you for sure need to see the correct course and you need to see it centered, which at the moment it doesn't seem this way, because it seems like the course is 099, I would say, or
yeah,
actually
target like 099, something like that, and on here it's like 091-ish.
Yeah, or maybe after Howie. Maybe after Howie we would see it better.
So in the turn right now, the needle should basically turn live and tell me exactly at what heading my nose should be pointing, so that I'm following the turn in the optimal line.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit counterintuitive, because if you're used to just judging the turn, it doesn't judge for you anymore. You just need to follow it.
Yeah.
And as you know, it's one thing to follow a flight director. It's another level, which is a better level, to lead the flight director, because you know what the airplane should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really funny. Whenever I'm hand flying the airplane, I'm also going for the option to lead the flight director. And some people look strange at you for like, hey, that thing hasn't told you to start turning yet. And I'm like, yeah, but look at that. I just start turning, and a second later the flight director starts turning. So
yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I'm totally with you on that one.
Yep. So it's a bit counterintuitive, I can see. So now we've definitely passed Howie. Now definitely the course should have been probably 099 or so. Looks like we barely have any crosswind. And for some reason the CDI over there is showing 091 course.
Yeah.
That seems off to me. I don't know why it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand it as well right now. This one says Mach 1, so I guess this is the heading up display, not the track up display on this airplane. Like in the 737 you have an option for that. The operator can choose what he wants, heading up or track up.
Yeah, we have the heading up at both.
Yeah, and here this one surely looks like a heading up as well. But looking at the wind, that's only like a minimal crosswind there.
Yeah, it doesn't. So also, we have the similar to the 7.3. We have the heading, and right next to it we have this little triangle in white that shows the track.
Mhm.
So they're almost exactly the same. So I don't know why the course is saying 091 and the track is 9, which looks correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Is there any place in the FMC where I can check the exact crosswind component?
Yes, in the progress page, I believe 2 or 3.
Progress. Progress 3. Yeah, here it is. So 58 tail, 1 knot cross from the right hand side. Track 099. But well, with only single knot, that makes sense now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The track and heading, same thing. The drift angle we see up there, that is the wind correction, isn't it?
Yep, exactly.
Perfect.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it really nice when you have like you need to just maintain a track. You just go to this page and you just basically fly it as you see it.
Yeah, very nice.
Now I'm starting to think about the track, like going from indicated to Mach. I guess we have some time, but I'm just telling you what my active mind is going through right now.
Yeah, one question as I see it, are the rates of climb more or less correct here?
You know what? To be honest, I did not take note of it right now. I will admit that I watched the stream yesterday and it was way too fast.
Okay, so you say it climbed too quickly.
Yeah, I would think so. How much time are we flying right now? What's the elapsed time?
12 minutes into at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
11 minutes. I started the timer a little bit earlier, so 11 minutes in the air, flight level 285.
It seems a little excessive climb.
Mm.
But right now at these altitudes to get 1,000 feet per minute climb, that's reasonable.
Okay.
So maybe the low altitude performance is a bit excessive.
Okay. It looks kind of interesting to me. Like I see the PFD. I see. Look at that. It's just automatically changing over to Mach number here and starts accelerating.
So it would do that automatically right around flight level 290. So that's actually accurate.
Okay. So regardless of if the indicator equals the Mach number, it still changes over and starts accelerating.
Right, because so remember we have the FMS speeds, which we in a real airplane we have the option to set up, and then it does what you said. It would to maintain 270 until it reaches a point.
Yep.
But now we are in science speed. We're in manual speed setting. So for those, basically the computer doesn't know what you want to do. So roughly at 290 is when it just automatically goes to.
Oh, nice. So once again, clear sign that there is some system logic behind it.
Yep, I liked seeing that, absolutely. Now, we just in terms of profile we use. So we use 270 and 0.74. 0.73 is absolutely reasonable, especially if we're doing like a lower cost index. Typically, we would use that until cruise level, and at cruise level, we have a higher speed for cruise. So, for example, 0.78, 0.76, whatever we want to do.
Okay.
So it's kind of nice because the auto throttle would keep the engine on climb thrust. The airplane levels off, obviously accelerates, and it lets it accelerate nicely, and then takes the throttle back off. So you see what I'm saying? It's not intercepting the cruise Mach to begin with. It's a climb Mach, and then once it reaches cruise, it lets it accelerate first to the cruise value. Obviously now we're in manual speeds, so we'd have to manually do it. So maybe a short transition to vertical speed at the very last 1,000 feet, and then set the speed, the Mach to whatever you want to cruise at, 7.6, 7.8. Or I don't know, actually, let's see what the flight deck calls for, because we don't want to overstep the dispatcher's fuel planning, right?
Yep. Yeah, you're probably not using that format. Sorry for that. It actually...
No, it's okay. I actually can read that, and I see cruise system Mach 0.78. So
Yep.
yeah, that's if I had to improvise a profile to fly this about 1,000 feet prior to level off, I would switch to vertical speed mode. And then just dial up the speed to Mach 0.78. So obviously, we are already at the max, the climb thrust limit.
Yep.
But it would just keep it this way and try to accelerate it. Won't necessarily succeed to. As it levels up, it would accelerate and capture the speed.
Okay. There is one guy currently in the comments saying auto thrust is off, the light is off. Now, obviously, on the FMAs,
correct.
it is still on. Is that correct that the light goes off up here, while on the FMA it's still on?
No, actually, the guy is spot on because you see underneath Autopilot, underneath AP in the FMA, I mean.
Yeah.
So underneath it, we should see AT, auto throttle. But so what? Actually, try to hit the AT for a second.
Okay, now it left the level change mode and went into alt hold.
So that's not realistic, but now at least we got our auto throttles back.
Yeah.
And in the FMA, we can try climbing again. That
Okay.
would be nice.
So level change doesn't work. I click level change, it just goes straight back into alt. Any reason it would do that?
Not in the real way.
Okay, so we are talking about a bug here.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I meant at the beginning of the stream, like, you don't follow the exact script of the developer, which calls for level change all the way to cruise, don't hit the button. As soon as you deviate from that, the system can start acting up on you. Let's see what happens. Let's change that target level a bit. No, just maintains the present level. Okay, well, in that case...
The vertical.
Yep. Okay, so target level back to 350. Vertical.
As you said.
Yeah. Would you prefer vertical speed or FPA mode?
It's very. Me personally, I would use vertical speed. Some people prefer FVA.
Okay. So we had something like 900 feet a minute previously. I'll just use 800, then we can sort of like set and forget the system.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I agree. Now, I just want to talk briefly about what you mentioned about the speed on the left side of the FMA.
Yep.
So if you zoom in a little bit, you can see SPDT.
Yep.
That actually means speed on thrust. So what is controlling our speed? The thrust. Beforehand, when we were on flight level change, the thrust was set on the climb 1 thrust limit. So what is controlling the speed? The pitch, obviously. So the elevator. So we would see SPDE, speed on elevator.
Oh, very nice.
So it's kind of a hint. Once you're approaching, let's say they're messing with you on the clearances, and they say, okay, whatever, just clear for the visual. So if you forget to also change your flight director enunciations, you might do SPDE still. Like let's say you were descending on a flight level change, and you're still SPDE, and then you're doing your pilot things, with manually, but your system still thinks SPDE. So if anyone is familiar with the Asiana 777 crash in San Francisco, doing flight level change all the way to just before the runway, it would be a similar situation.
Okay, so just to be sure I understand that correctly, it is possible. You see the AT FMA up here for auto throttle, and then if you see SPDE at the same time, auto throttle is basically just keeping the thrust at whatever the thrust levers are set at. Do I get that right?
Not quite. So the AT prompt is saying that the auto throttle is engaged. So it will do what you want it to. If before, when we did not have that prompt, the auto throttle is completely dead.
Okay.
So now it is online, and it's supposed to be doing what the system should be doing. Now, with that being on, the prompt on the left is what is controlling the speed. So right now, speed on thrusts in the Boeing 737, that would be equivalent to vertical speed mode, or excuse me, if you talk about auto throttle modes, it would be equivalent to MCP speed, for example, or FMC speed.
Okay.
Okay, so as opposed to if you're doing like flight level change mode, you would see SPDE, so speed on elevator. So that would, the equivalence in 737 would be like a thrust rating or arm or something like that. Idle.
Perfect. Just another quick question. As we are approaching a cleared level, I see the green flight path vector is not quite inside the flight director there. Is that a correct indication? Because it seems the pitch lined up on the flight director, but not the flight path vector.
No, you're right. It's not. So it seems like the developers might have had the same misconception as a lot of students doing the type rating. But at least it's nice to see while we're climbing that the 800 feet commanded is matching the 800 feet per minute.
Mm-hmm.
That it was matching, but that's the point. But the flight director, the magenta flight director, should be in ideally it would be the green FPV completely circling the magenta flight director.
Okay, so
No, it's not designed for
wait a
the
moment. Vertical speed is climbing through the target level here.
Oh, that's not good.
No. Should I need to arm any altitude capture mode?
No, it should have captured it on its own.
Okay, in other words... Try that again. Just resetting the level as well. So 500 feet a minute radar descent. Let's see if it captures that altitude.
Okay.
So there is absolutely no mode that I could have messed up on that would have led to overshooting the target altitude. Do I understand that correctly?
No. Yeah, it should not pass your set altitude, period.
Yeah.
So you don't need to arm anything, it's self-armed.
And it's doing it again.
Okay. Good to
Okay.
know.
Here's the out button.
Yep. And that's actually realistic. Once you hit Alt, it doesn't just level off, it captures whatever altitude you were when you hit Alt. So
Mhm.
if you were descending and they tell you, hey, just keep whatever altitude you are right now. So by the time they finish saying the sentence past the altitude, you would actually come back to the altitude if you just hit Alt.
Ah, very nice. That's what the 7.3 would be doing as well.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are again.
So it's nice to see that an airplane is an airplane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's maybe for the guys, maybe for our viewers. Prior to the stream, we had a little chat there, and I said something like, "Well, an airplane is an airplane. If you can fly one, you can fly all because they all follow the same physics." Now, obviously, that is quite an exaggerated statement, but we see some similarities here. In like basic logic, is pretty similar to one another, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the takeoff profile made perfect sense to you coming from the 7.3.
I would have done the exact same thing in the 7.3. The exact same thing.
Same with the pitch attitude after takeoff.
Yeah, 15 degrees.
Yep. sounds familiar. Yeah, so they all fly the same.
Wait a moment, I just disconnected the autopilot. I hit the trim switch.
Did you break it?
Well, I can't. Come on. Now it re-engages. Okay, that's strange.
But now we're in roll mode. Hit nav, please, for me.
Okay.
And alt.
Nav and that alt light is still illuminated. Is that supposed to be?
Well, no, because right now we're not in alt mode anyway.
Okay.
But
it again. Oh no! Look at that. I can't get it back into alt. It just stays in FPA. What happens if I go FPA? Speed. Did it just completely freeze up now? Yeah.
Okay, now it's going to A cell.
Alt
select.
But why does it start to climb? Doesn't make sense to me. Vertical speed. Look at that! I hit the VS button, but it stays in FPA.
And it seems like it's responding to you, just not showing it.
Yeah, it's doing something, but the flight director is gone. The flight path vector is gone. I think we messed something up.
Okay, then your reward, you get to hand fly.
Oh yeah.
No, but what I would do really, we can maybe get rid of both the autopilot and the flight director altogether and try to re-engage.
Okay,
I don't know if
autopilot off, flight director off, but the FPA still stays over there. Is that correct?
No. Whatever side. So yeah, no, it should all go. Maybe you can try also the first officer side, flight director switch.
Oh, that does nothing.
Okay. Well, I will tell ATC negative RVSL.
Yep. So that would be the point to go below level 280, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, let's try to get them back on. But I can't even get the flight right at the moment. Oh yeah, we have a flight right now. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
fair enough. Odd. Nothing happens. Okay, what happens if we change that? The level change. Previously, level change forced alt mode, but... Okay, so how can we get that back? Let me try
Maybe
something.
just-
I mean,
Okay.
we are on FPA almost showing 0 there. What happens if I go back to Autopilot now? The alt light comes on, but the alt FMA doesn't show.
Yeah.
I mean, I can try. I'll just try to change that FPA mode. We'll just climb back up using FPA, and then we'll just set it to FPA 0, then it should sort of maintain level 350, should it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a quick and dirty workaround right now.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I know as much as you do because we're in bug troubleshooting realm, not flying realm.
No, but it doesn't even respond to FPA anymore.
Right.
It's just maintaining the level.
What if we mess something with what the computer thinks is our cruise altitude mode? It shouldn't because it more relates to VNAV. But what if we change, for example, like change the cruise level to level 330, for example?
Yeah.
Now, would it accept that we're just like intermediately changing cruising altitude?
No, doesn't look like it. It's just doing nothing. I have the lights showing for altitude and FPA, and on the FMA it says FPA, but it should be following that cyan line there, should it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so basically we broke the entire vertical navigation of the Autopilot.
Good job, Emmanuel. You had one job.
Yep. Well, at least we get that beer in Boston now.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That plane's gonna go nowhere after we land.
I agree. You know what? I really like this role, to be honest. I have no controls. I have no buttons to push, so I can just sit here like the angry old guys from the Muppet Show and just say criticism. I like it.
Yep.
My point of blaming you for everything is even stronger now.
I'm used to that. Every developer I've worked with is always like, what is that tester doing there? Why is he breaking my stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess in the real world, in a way, they're building nice, shiny airplanes and we keep breaking them.
Yeah, exactly that. Okay, so... Well, the thing is 100 feet below the cleared level. The thing doesn't do anything. But honestly, if you want to hand fly, be my guest. But apart from that, it seems to be stable. I'll just let it do exactly what it's doing right now. And then we'll think about something by the time that we get to the proper descent.
Yep, and if we have a TICAS RA because of that, we would just blame the other airplane for having a broken altimeter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, problem solved.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, let's
How far are we?
Yeah, that's about the thing I was about to look at. So we have 413 miles to go, and it says an hour and 21. Now, that is something that I came across on my previous first impression video, where I thought the estimated time en route over there is not showing correctly. Now, in my opinion, this is a simple estimated time en route. Does it take into account the speed reduction and everything on the descent?
It does. However, in the real airplane too, sometimes the destination time and distance is messing with you because, especially in the US, a lot of the stars, the arrival procedures have long vectoring segments.
Mm-hmm.
So the FMS thinks we're gonna go like 50 miles extra each direction, So then that could be seriously screwed up. So if I really want to just know how much left, and especially now that we've set up the star like that, so it could be a little bit distorted. So I would personally go to the MCDU fix page, similar to the Boeing. So I would put the destination airport, the fix page. You can access it via nav.
Yep.
Fix info.
Grayed out, not simulated.
Okay. But however, I did see when we did progress page 2. And so, oh, it's not. It's an RTA. Okay.
We have it
I
here.
saw like.
Progress
Yeah, but
page
this is
1.
the one. The value that you see there is the same one you were seeing on the MFD. Should be.
Okay, in the real airplane it would be.
Yeah,
Maybe
'cause
we
that's
can
what
summarize
airplane-
it at that.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so I guess for some reason that's a direct line. In the real airplane, this would be the same value because this is what the airplane thinks we're about to do. In
Yeah.
reality, we mentally know that we're going to get a shortcut.
Yeah.
And it could be quite significant, I can tell you that. Especially in Chicago, for example, the stars are very long. We can find as much as 100-something mile difference.
Wow. Yeah, we have a couple of arrivals like that in Europe as well, but we always just added the FMC to insert something we expect to get, and if we don't get that, these shortcuts we sometimes end up in heading select and desperately try to reinsert the star. But,
Oh, yeah. That sounds familiar.
Yep. Well, okay, at least we now have our direct distance to the airport. We didn't get it from the fixed page, but we found our place, even though not the right one, but we found what we were looking for.
Dude, we should publish the stream as like Apollo 13 movie. We at some point we make like a circular fixed value to match a rectangle. Something.
Yeah.
Okay, nice troubleshooting. As a good pilot monitoring, I will get us the ATIS for Boston.
Your thing?
So I got us ATIS uniform from 1954 Zulu. Winds are 080 at 8 knots, 10 statute miles visibility, scattered 2,800, broken 25,000, 1 degree, dew point -6, altimeter 3030. Before you do anything, I know as a Boeing guy, you're tempted to set 3030. Don't do that here because we don't have like a standby mode. You actually, when we cross transition level, we would have to set it.
Okay.
That's reflective of the real line.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I'm tempted. You see where I have my mouse.
I read your mind as I read it. I didn't even see it. I was reading the ATIS and I was mentally seeing you going to set it up as a sample.
Yeah.
No, don't.
Okay.
And then we have ILS runway 4 right is in use, as well as ILS 15 right, for visual approach 4 left, and they're departing runway 9. So I think it's safe to say what you set up, ILS 04 right is a good approach.
All right. Just a quick thing, by the way. The predicted flight time is in the region of about 1 hour and 20-ish. That means we have roughly 50 minutes left. So we have like 20 minutes to the top of descent. Maybe that's a good point. If you guys watching the stream have any questions, just put them in the comments right now. And then we are just quickly going to predict where our top of descent is going to be roundabout, since the airplane doesn't do it for us. But as soon as we're done with the preparations, we then can take a little bit of time to answer a couple of the viewers' questions as well. So if you guys have any questions, especially if you have any questions to Itai about the Embraer and flying the Embraer, then please do put them in the comments now.
And I would have you read those, if there's good questions, I would have you read them to me because I can't see it. I'm not watching on the YouTube, so you're watching our separate communication.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay, I see your first question there straight away, but before we go into that, maybe we should try to figure out our top of descent first. Because, you know, in real life, obviously, I assume the plane would do it for you, but over here we don't have any of that lovely fancy VNAV stuff, so we gotta do a little bit of mathematics. Now, in the 737 we always say, you take the altitude divided by 1,000, so we're 35 times 3, and then we add 1 mile per 10 knots above 200, and then we add or subtract 1 mile per 10 knots of wind, and that roughly gives us our distance for the descent. Do you have any similar formulas for the E-jets that people could use?
I would like to submit that into evidence that an airplane is an airplane exactly the same way.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we're gonna do it that way. So let's see, we have 35, that gives us 105 nautical miles, plus 7 to lose our speeds, minus 5 from the 50 knots tailwind we have at the moment, but we'll keep an eye on that. So we end up at 107 nautical miles from Boston.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yep.
And I would let you choose whether to do it based on the distance that you see in the MFD or the distance that you see in the MCDU.
Well, this would
Because there is some star over there. We can like split the difference because we are going to do some kind of star maneuvering. If you look at the JFUN to arrival, it kind of goes over the airport and beyond it a little bit,
well,
and then come back.
Well, you're the guy knowing the place, and you're the guy doing the radios on this one, so I guess you're going to be the guy receiving the vectors from ATC as well?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
And I can be very persuasive when I want something from them.
Mayday doesn't count, huh?
No, without Mayday, that's cheating. That's
7.6 doesn't count either.
no, it's cheat codes. You can use it, but it's like you're a cheater.
So basically, if you type motherload into the FMS, you're gonna get 50,000.
I wish. I should try. I should try that next time.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I tend to say, to make things easy, we have an ND on a 100-mile range. The moment the airport comes into view on the top of the ND, it's the moment we're gonna start our descent.
Sounds absolutely reasonable to me.
We are surely going to be able to pick those 7 miles up with the speed brake later, are we?
Oh yeah.
Okay, perfect. Alright, so, maybe that's the moment to talk about a couple of the questions the guys are putting in. Maybe there is one question I could put in first, because it's something I noticed. We did all our fancy flight plan programming and everything on the left FMC. On the right FMC, when I hit the flight plan page, I just get this.
No, it's
is there
identical.
So there should be cross-loading of the route and everything. So everything I put into the right should also be in the left, should it?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So obviously, once we click navigate, we click activate.
Yeah.
So that's when it crossfits. But yes, absolutely, they should indicate the same things.
Okay. Maybe that is the reason. There is a button in the settings up here where you can say fly aircraft from right seat. Maybe that kind of makes the right FMC the left. But I'd have to play with that as well. Okay.
No, I'm not flying today. I'm mentally checked out.
Yeah. Okay, so actually a lot of questions did come in over there. Now, the first one up there is from Vali, and can we declutter the display somehow? So obviously, you see there are loads of airports shown right here, which basically make the entire route very hard to see. Now, of course we can go and just deselect the airports, but is there any filtering or something that should be there for the airports on your ND?
No, there is not. It's a good question. I believe it's like a company selection of which airports to display according to which criteria, but it's either it's on or it's off, just like it is now. We would not typically see that many, but it does tend to show you some very small random airports that you really wouldn't care about necessarily. So I typically personally fly with the airport selected off. Mm-hmm. Another reason, and just if I want like a reference to a certain like the possible diversion airport, I just put it on the fix page and draw a circle around it to know. Like for example, we can see as the VOR there's Syracuse over there. It's a good diversion alternate. The diversion alternates, they would not show, by the way, in magenta like they are right now. Mm-hmm. They would, or yeah, it's just the VOR stations. They would just see show in green. Another secret reason why I would not use the airport thing is because we see traffic in blue as well. Mm-hmm. So it's the same color as the airports. Now, I honestly don't care about some stupid airport that I would never fly to right underneath me and 100 others. But if there is an airplane over there that's also showing in blue, I want to see it. So I personally don't use the airports option.
Yeah, okay, that definitely makes sense. Are the symbols correct, by the way? I see one that is just a simple circle over there, then I see a circle with a cross in it. Is that correct?
No, I don't know where they bring the symbols. I would assume it kind of looks like the normal Garmin symbology, so I would assume it's coming from like the default displays.
Yeah, so this is probably just the default nav display then.
Right. It would, if I recall, it should be like a green circle or something, nothing fancy.
Now, if I select weather or terrain up here, then it does show us the default Microsoft Flight Simulator map and the default Microsoft Flight Simulator weather overlay as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the
I'm
weather
just gonna switch
terrain
those
is
off. Yep.
okay.
Sorry.
Terrain is terrain. If you choose the weather selection, then if you see the very bottom of the MFD, you have a weather menu.
Yeah.
So
I'll
the
click
weather
a little
menu.
here, but go ahead, please.
This is when we would set the weather radar accordingly. So we would have to. This is the display. So what is displayed versus the bottom of the screen where it would be like what is the actual radar is set up for it to do.
Yeah.
Like the tilt, the gain, all that stuff.
Yeah. And I guess for the terrain display, that would be a standard eGPWS map like we have in the Boeings and the Airbuses.
Yeah, very, very similar. You would feel right at home. There's peak, peak display.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay. I'll just switch that off because I find the default Microsoft Simulator terrain is just ugly. As it basically tells us we're flying into everything red when we get into low altitudes.
And there's no mountains around Boston, so that's good.
Yep. Okay, then there's a question from Konali, but that is one that I would actually like to answer later in the Discord, as it is not something EJET specific. So just send me the question again. The question is, why is there actually a flex and the D-rate takeoff option? Wouldn't both do the same thing? Now that's something that would take a bit of time to explain, and we have limited time. We have 4 viewers, so I would like to focus it a little bit on the EJET. So Konali, send me that question in the Discord again, and I'm going to explain it a little bit.
And I can endorse whatever you answer because it would be the same answer. Because an airplane is an airplane.
Absolutely. Okay, so then Green Ranger, are you guys getting beers when you land? Well,
What do we get?
beers.
Oh, beers. Oh.
Well,
I'm definitely gonna get one.
let's put it that way. The Autopilot started getting one, as we can see up here. So chances are the answer is going to be yes. But then again,
It would be rude not to join it, right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, how can the Autopilot possibly start drinking and then just let it be at that?
Right, but if George is drinking, it's just common courtesy to join it, right?
Absolutely. Okay, then let's go further into the questions. There is one from 7.3. How is the sound? Now that is a question. Ithai, can you comment on the sounds? Can you hear them at all through our little streaming setup up here?
Yeah, they're a little bit weak. Honestly, I don't have any comments, good or bad. It sounds okay. Not amazing.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a fairly like we don't hear a lot of the engines within the cockpit like we do, but it's not that significant. There's a lot of sounds in the cockpit from like the AC pressurization, the recirculation fans. Those are pretty noisy. I don't really have any crazy comment on that, but I'm not that picky on those either, so maybe I'm just not as particular about this thing.
Okay. Then there is a question from somebody saying, hi from the Russian Aviation University. What do you think about this craft? Can I suggest that we delay answering that until we have actually completed the flight?
I agree.
Because then at least we have something we can base that opinion on. That's my idea behind that. Then, let's see. Francisco, what is the standard auto brake in this aircraft operation? So what's the standard settings you would be using?
Oh, that's a good question. So actually, our operation allowed not to use one at all. But when we do get our performance, we get what is the stopping distance for low, medium, or high, and also what is max manual and the minimum required runway length. So as long as the stopping distance of, for example, medium is good and comfortable under the available landing distance, then a medium. Okay, what's the standard is medium is pretty much good, and sometimes you just feel like you would be braking a little harder. High is a little too high, but it's useful sometimes. Low is just really low, so I hardly ever use it. So for me, it's usually between medium or high. As I said, it's kind of hard to judge here because we don't actually see like the landing distances in real life. Obviously, it's all pre-calculated, and we choose the one that most appropriates to the turn-off taxiway that we want to meet.
Can you give us some rough guidance on roughly how many feet or meters of runway do you need with every of those settings?
Off the top of my head, medium would be 5,000 something. High would be, high would be like 4,000 something. Low would be probably around the 7,000 realm. As I said about takeoff, this airplane, honestly, we use it in fairly big airports, but this airplane can do a lot. It has really, really good performance. We can put it in very impressively short runways if we want to. So, like auto brakes high would be good for a place like Key West, for example. I do. Some people don't like it because, unlike 7.3s or something like that, when you press as you're slowing down on the runway, you're pressing gently on the brakes, right? The manual brakes.
Mm-hmm.
And as it meets the current pressure, disconnects the auto brakes for you the 7.3, correct?
Yep.
So for us in the Embraer, it's kind of.
I know what's about to come.
Yeah. So it's a little funky. As soon as you put any pressure at all, even just a little bit, the auto brakes just, boom, disarms, and it kind of snaps you to. So all of a sudden you feel like you're not braking at all, and it could be a little bit violent. So when you go from auto brake to manual braking, you really should just try to match it as soon as you can, kind of by heart, by feeling. Otherwise, you do get a little bit of a snap, but like anything in the world, if you practice, you get better at it. I do like the auto brakes to bring some kind of scientific approach to the landing distance.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, our operation does not mandate it.
Okay.
I would say for Boston, for our flight today, medium would be just fine. To answer a long story short.
And I'm just immediately gonna put that in. And I just noticed.
And as you
yeah.
Exactly.
So we've just got the flap display. We've got the landing gear showing there.
Yep, exactly. Everything populates. So typically, I would delay auto brake selection until we started our descent and we are actually going through transition level. And this is the prompt for us to run the descent checklist. This is where I would put auto brakes to where I want them, because until then it's kind of useful to have it decluttered, and then if there's a problem with the engine, it clutters it all of a second. Then this is, for example, how I would detect like an engine problem early on.
Okay. So there you have it. You give that Boeing driver a single switch in an airplane, and immediately he messes up.
Yeah, you broke it again.
Yep. No worries. I have a feeling I'm gonna break it even more often later on.
Well, you know how there's like a sheet of like giving a grade to someone, so I'm just using the airplane maintenance logbook as a grade system. So anything you break, I just write up. Okay, fine. Broke it.
Yeah. So if I put this back to off, should at some point those indications be removed again?
30 seconds after all the criteria is met, it will turn off.
Okay, so let's see what's gonna happen in 30 seconds.
that's pretty useful. That declutter is pretty useful for after takeoff when a lot of things are happening, ATCs in your ear and there's altitude changes and stuff. I just glance and see that it actually turned off after the gear is up and the flaps are up.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we're actually clean. It's kind of a nice cheat sheet.
Okay, and that actually went.
Yep.
Okay, very nice to see. So that stuff is actually working as it should.
Yep, I really like it.
It's really interesting flying this plane. Like, there are some very basic things like the autopilot acting up on us right now. But on the other end side, we do find that stuff like this is actually there. So that kind of underlines that the developer is actually saying the truth there when he says that there is some system stuff implemented going on in the background. A lot of the automatic stuff especially. So that indeed is true. We can see it over here. He is right about that when he says it. Of course.
Yeah, it's. I agree with you. It looks like they took system by system and kind of did some work, concentrated.
Yep. Okay, so of course some other stuff like that autopilot that should not be happening. But well, I don't know. With
More fun to you, flying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a. There was a question actually from somebody earlier on, before the live stream, who said like, when you have that real Embraer pilot on the stream, could you ask him to comment on the flight model? Now, commenting on a flight model is of course something that is very difficult if you don't sit there, if you don't have the accurate controls in front of you. So if you have that real control column here with the real pressures and everything. However,
absolutely,
my idea later for the flight was that we just disconnect the autopilot somewhere on the way in on the descent. I just show it somewhere like this, that you can see the control column and the PFD, and that you can maybe give us some commentary on if the airplane is reacting correctly to a certain control column deflection. You think that's a way how we could do something on the flight model?
I mean, I can try. I think it would be more relevant to see pitch and power correlations with performance outputs.
Yeah.
Not as much in terms of yoke displacement, because as you said, it's a very feeling-based situation. And to be honest, any sim, I've never come close to actually feeling the same thing. So I just all that's left is to develop a good instrument, scan and cross-check, and as we said, pitch power equals performance. That's what we could do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't learn hand flying on a homemade simulator. That's out of question.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we'll see.
What would be interesting, though, maybe that would be a separate flight, but there is quite an extensive fly-by-wire system to this. I know it doesn't seem this way, but there is a lot of criteria where, for example, the system would trim the airplane for us and put inputs based on, for example, if you change the power setting. Let's say if you took the throttle back, the thrust level back, it would pitch up for you to compensate for some of the lost pitch. Now, is it perfect? No. It does mitigate some of the effects, so it would be not as pronounced. So it's not necessarily a direct. Anything you do has a direct physical effect because the airplane tries to compensate for it to some extent. No, it's not necessarily trying to maintain a pitch altitude attitude exactly, but what it does is it's trying to augment some of the effects of the controls. That's what it is.
Okay, so you think you can convince ATC later on to factor us out over the ocean a little bit, that we can check a couple of basic pitch power values then?
Oh, absolutely.
Sounds very good. After all, they did put quite some promise in on the flight model, saying that it's been designed by a real life airline pilot. So that is something I'm very much looking forward to see how that turn out.
All right.
Okay, so now that's an interesting one from user Metal Eye. Do you plan to do more streams together? Maybe pilot, co-pilot, and VATSA? Now, I'm thinking if there is a technical solution that we could possibly do.
I mean, I'll be honest, guys, I don't even have the sim installed. My machine is simply not strong enough. I'm if Emmanuel is not going to get sick of me so quickly, I'd be happy to join again and maybe actually let him fly the damn thing and not sit an hour on the ground. But up to you, Emmanuel.
I'd be absolutely happy about that.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to find a solution because, as Itai just said, his machine isn't capable of running MSFS. So the way we've set this up today is that we met in Discord, and I'm streaming my computer screen live to him in real time, so that he can see everything I can see, and that is the way we've set this up. So we're talking over Discord, and I'm streaming the Discord output straight away to you guys. That's the way we're doing this. So we gotta think about a couple of solutions there, but I'm sure we'll be able to do something if we really want to.
Yeah, we can just try to do pretty much the same thing, just less talking about systems and more just running checklists and be a little bit more proficient in it.
Yeah,
where I can like assume a little bit better of a pilot monitoring role, I guess.
sounds good. Now, then there is someone saying, "Hello, I'm with Southern Airways Express and I'm in the SkyWest Cadet program. What should I expect when joining and learning to fly the E-Jets?"
Okay, so all these airlines have really good training programs. So they pretty much lead you through it pretty nicely. So I felt like I always felt like I did not have any surprise during training. So the stages start with company procedures, then you dive into the systems, then you go into the simulators, and there's fairly good documentation in the training how to prepare for each segment. As always, the most important things are the limitations and the memory items. That's, I think Emmanuel will agree with me, for any airplane.
Absolutely.
So the more, yeah. So for any airplane, the early on you can get on with those and be perfectly comfortable with those. It gives you like a little bit of a clearer path into, for example, learning the weather minimum. Because is it important? Yes, but do you need to know it? Just if I wake you from sleep, can you recite it? Well, to an extent, but not as much as like a memory item.
In many cases, they just say knowing means knowing where it's written, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly it. So, and a lot of the training is about indexing correctly and knowing where to access it. Like, do I know? I'm a captain of my airline. Do I know every single word in every single procedure? No. I need to know the memory items. I need to know the limitations. Some of them, most of them. I need to comply with all of them. Do I need to know all of them by heart? No. I need to know how to reference them. Same for procedure. What happens if during pushback the headset of the rampers break and now they can't hear me, or just before? I need to kind of know what to do, and then I can quickly access alternate means of communications.
Yep. By the way, while you have been explaining, something happened to me. I just accidentally hit that trim switch again. That disengaged the autopilot. I re-engaged the autopilot, and all of a sudden, we have an alt mode.
You fixed it.
I fixed it. I don't know how.
Man.
I just disconnected the autopilot accidentally, reconnected the autopilot, and it fixed it.
All I can say is wunderbar. I will say this: if you touch the trim, it's soft. It's a soft disconnect. It's a soft, abnormal way to disconnect the autopilot. So that would be a realistic way to get the autopilot disconnect. I'm glad you fixed it.
Okay.
Well, you should be glad you fixed it. You're the one flying. I'm just
Oh yeah.
a Muppet. I'm just an old guy from the Muppets, just commenting on stuff.
Well, that means less hand flying on the descent. That is always a good thing for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, then there's a question if the fixed page is implemented. Well, we kind of looked at that earlier, and the answer is no, we don't have a fixed page implemented. There is one in the real plane, but we don't have it in the sim.
Correct.
Then, Chris Dalby, 0 chance of this being VATSIM ready anytime soon. Yeah, I'm afraid so. I mean, maybe we can go through a little bit of the stuff we think would be needed to fly this in VATSIM. What's your opinion?
I wouldn't. It seems annoying to everyone, to be honest, at this stage.
Yeah. I concur.
Could I make it work? Just forcing everyone to vector me around the waypoints that I can't do a direct to. Maybe.
Yeah.
For example, now we're about to do a star, an arrival that has a lot of altitude and speed constraints. To do that without proper VNAV would be a nightmare. You can't do it, and I'm sure 100% I know in CRJs, for example, they don't at all have a VNAV when they do this arrival. I'm just saying it's half-baked at this point. Like it acts like it should have it, but it doesn't. It's neither nor.
Okay. Then there is one more question which I want to cover in a moment, but we see our destination coming in there at the top, so we are less than 100 miles out now. We'll just about start our descent. Now, in the real plane, I guess you would just dial the altitude down and hit VNAV?
Yes. Well, VNAV would probably be still on. You'd have magenta alt enunciated.
Mm-hmm.
So all you need to do is just dial the altitude down, and as soon as it reaches top of descent, it will just join the path.
Okay, so for us, I'm gonna make it easy. Let's put level 100 in, or 10,000 feet since we're in the States. And, well, we can't use level change because it's just gonna go into alt mode. As you can see here, when I press level change, it just stays in alt. So we can't use that in the add-on. So we actually gotta use vertical speed, or FPA. I would say FPA is preferred, or is it again?
So it's a technique thing. I will tell you this: the VNAV in the real airplane is really not that sophisticated. I think the developers mentioned that the VNAV is wonky. Now, is it usable? Absolutely. But what do I mean? It's wonky. It just calculates what would be a good 3-degree descent path from where you are cruising at to the next constraint, for example. It does not take into account, for example, leveling off to slow down. It does not count how much tailwind you had, so then maybe you will slowly overspeed, because it would prioritize the flight path angle over, or the VNAV path over the speed. So you need to kind of be wary of that and be ready to either preemptively slow down or use the speed brakes to help you. I think again, an airplane is an airplane. These are the stuff that are not perfect about the real airplane VNAV, but it does work really well in complying with altitude constraints. And I'm sure any airplane would have its quirks that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the 737, when I started in my airline, we had basic VNAV installed. Now we have common VNAV. And in basic VNAV, if you were above the path and you hit that VNAV button, it would just dive down. And officially, it has overspeed protection built in, but that thing is still going to overspeed by 20 knots before it's pitched up sufficiently to stop the speed increasing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that I see a lot of times, not necessarily with this add-on, but in other add-ons. I think in the Zibo it was very common to see a lot of VNAV does this, and that. Well, guess what? The airplane does wonky stuff too, and that's why we are there.
Yeah. A quick question: as I've started the descent, I've set it to flight path angle -4 degrees. We're doing 517 knots over ground and getting 2,000 feet a minute. Do I understand anything incorrectly, or is my assumption that at a 3-degree path, at 500 knots, we should be doing 2,500 feet a minute? Therefore, at a 4-degree path, we should be seeing something like 3,000 and a bit right now?
I agree with you.
Okay, in other words, FPA doesn't work. It does something, but not what we dial in.
Yep, that's definitely not the correct angle.
Okay. The thing is that the flight path vector over here just is aligned on the 4-degree line. The flight director is above that, but flight path angle here is aligned on the 4-degree line.
Yeah, it's like it's doing what it should be doing. Forget the fact that it's not actually 4 degrees, but it looks like the flight director is commanding our actual pitch angle. It's incorrect. Flights in the real airplane the flight director would command. We would strive to put the flight path vector over the flight director.
Okay.
It would look like a circle, like a green circle, engulfing completely. Honestly, it's not a circle. The flight director is like a diamond, so it's a magenta diamond.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm currently a little bit stuck on what I should say, because I just say what I have on my mind right now. We don't have level change in the descent. Flight path angle doesn't work, as we can see. It does not fly the flight path angle that we are commanding. So we are literally left with vertical speed mode only, are we?
Pretty much. I concur. Now, Captain, let's verify that we have some approach speeds dialed in over there.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I just quickly, let's see vertical speed here. Yeah, if I put 3,000 feet a minute in, that works. Okay, and let's quickly go ahead and do the approach setup, because we haven't really done that yet. Boston for left.
For right.
For right. You've been such a good first officer all day long. I'm sure you know the values by heart, do you?
Oh no. So, but I have it open, so
yeah,
it's better.
I told you guys, Ethan is a very good first officer.
You know, I'm just feeding you the information and letting you do all the mistakes yourself.
We talk on the next sim check again, my friend. We talk on the next sim check.
Oh, you're gonna fail something on purpose, aren't you? Okay. So, the real airplane would have auto-tune. So at epic load 27, about 130 miles away from the airport, it would automatically tune the frequency. I see that it's not tuned in, so it's 110.3, or you could just put the letters India, Bravo, Oscar, Sierra.
Yeah, Bravo, Oscar, Sierra. Let's see.
IBOS.
Invalid entry. So that's not simulated. Okay, then you said 1107.
110.3.
103. Thank you very much. Is it realistic that I have to write that decimal in between?
You can. You don't have to. Like, every VHF frequency we ever use starts with the 1. So you can just theoretically do 103. That would work.
Okay, let's try that. Yeah, invalid entry.
Okay.
That is unfortunate.
I'm curious just for the VHF, because we normally don't tune the radio frequencies. I mean, you can. Try for the radio, for the comm radios, just to do 228.
Yeah. That works.
That actually works. Now another neat feature, you could put it exactly on the active, and then it puts it on the active, and whatever was active is now going to be on standby.
Yeah, that works.
Yep, that's nice.
So they implemented it on the comms, but not on the navs yet.
Yeah, on the nav, to be honest, we just put the letters in, so I cannot, off the top of my head, know if it's exactly the same.
Yeah, okay.
So now that we have a frequency, we probably want to set the course as well, correct?
Yep.
So hit preview for me on what would be the IFIS.
That button is not simulated. I can't
It's
click
not?
this.
Okay. So that would pop. You can watch my video later to show what it would do. But it would preview. So we would stay. Right now, I don't want you to press VL, but VL would switch us from magenta, from FMS nav to the localizer glide slope. Now we don't want to do that because we're still tracking the arrival. By the way, crossing 18,000. Let me give you the altimeter. It is currently 3030.
3. That's not my setting.
Yep, 3030.
Okay. 3031s. 30 twice.
Very cool. So the preview mode allows us to remain in FMS in command and LNAV engage and VNAV possibly, but it would just show the overlay in cyan of the course, and when we have reception, the actual localizer lights look. What it also allows is once you later on in the approach you hit approach, it would automatically switch from FMS to localizer to capture the localizer that's being previewed. Worth noting that the real airplane cannot do that with VOR. The real airplane cannot track VOR.
Okay.
Just localizers.
Okay. So, apart from that, we need a minimum still.
220. So it's 218 rounded up to the next 10, so that's 220.
Alright, so it is realistic that the real airplane can't tell you the single feet either. We have to round it.
That's correct. And then for the speeds, let's see if it auto calculates or populates, which the real airplane does not. We would have to calculate it.
Yep. So I go performance, approach speeds.
It would be under landing, but let's see approach speed. Let's see what it is.
I can try landing as well.
Okay, yeah, it should be in landing.
Okay, there we can enter a little bit of stuff, but no boxes, so I guess we don't have to fill anything.
I think so.
Let's go landing. Yeah, it auto-populates.
Okay. It seems rather low, but yeah, we're kind of low on the fuel. Yeah, I guess it's realistic. Oh, I will say this. We normally land with flaps 5, not full.
Okay.
So, up to you what to do with that information.
Yeah, quick thing. Do you want to convince ATC that we just go straight ahead to the open water so that we can do a little bit of pitch power flying before we come in for landing?
Oh, you know what? I'm bad at CRM, so I never told you, but we have already received that permission long ago.
Okay. So I see we don't have that much fuel left. Looks like we used like 2/3 of our fuel already. Not sure. Is that realistic? Would you expect such a fuel quantity on arrival?
No, it's rather on the low side. Also, don't forget that we still have the alternate to go to. That if I see this value, I pretty much want to land. Not necessarily minimum fuel, but this is a good value to land with.
Okay.
So we can just get down to 6,000, for example, 210, and I think we can just see the values as you normally fly the approach.
Okay, perfect.
The star would kind of take us on like a downwind leg. So.
Yeah. So can you tell me something on how that airplane is decelerating right now? We can try to give it sensible vertical mode. Let's go vertical speed. It's like we're doing 800 feet a minute right now and we're losing speed really quickly. Is that realistic? Does the plane have that much drag?
Not really. It would have a little bit less drag than that. It would lose speed, just not as quickly.
Okay, so I'm just about gonna disengage the autopilot and maintain 250 knots, sort of doing what another change would. Throttles and idle. What rate of descent could I expect at 250 knots?
I guess 2,000. At 250 knots, yeah, 2,000, 2,500 be realistic.
Okay.
At idle.
I'm getting 1.8 out of the plane right now. Is that like?
It's weird because it seems like it's kind of erroneous from between what we expect the airplane to do. Sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's too little. Interesting.
Okay.
Let's try to get it to level off at 210 or 220. Just basically the flap schedule on approach is green dot plus 10 would be the next stage.
Okay.
So if the green dot right now is 210, a good place to be clean is 220. And if you want to be any slower than that, you would want to get the flaps.
Okay. So I'll slow down at 210 right now. Is the green dot realistic there at 210?
Honestly, it seems way higher than it would be in real life. At this weight, we would, especially with the V speeds this low, yeah, I would expect it to be around 190, 190 something.
Yep.
Like 210 is a good go-to airspeed to maintain. That's always good at any combination of conditions. Like, what's the go-to? 210. That would keep you safe anytime. And I think in this case, it's not really the case. Because remember, once we're below green dot, we're behind the drag curve.
Yeah.
So so we really don't want to be below that.
So
now, Captain, we're going east and kind of away from the airport. Is that something you want to do?
yeah, just for a second, we'll turn south in a moment. Just
Sounds
while
good.
we're here, when I'm more or less maintaining my airspeed now at 210, I get something like 1,300 or so rate of descent. Is that like what you would expect?
No, less. Around 1,000, maybe 1,100. For green dot, this airplane is surprisingly good glider, especially when you really needed to lose altitude and speed.
Well, at that point, any airplane turns into a very good glider.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you need it to glide, it doesn't, but when you really need to get down for some reason, it glides really well all of a sudden.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess it approximates decent value right now, I would say.
Okay, so leveling off at 6,000, which pitch power value would I need?
Probably around 3 to 5 degree pitch and power, I would say around 70.
Okay, so that's 3 degrees. Power.
And this airplane makes it really easy to fly because what you're doing is you're trying to put the flight path vector just level on the horizon like you are right now, and it looks perfect. It actually does not look bad. What do you think?
Yeah, seems like it. I mean, it does seem to accelerate a bit at 70%. I need more like 65%-ish. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a pretty low weight, we said, so...
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you're turning, for example, like at a 30-degree bank, if you add 5%, it would keep you at exactly the same speed.
Okay, so let's try that. Shall we go heading 240 or something onto downwind?
I agree.
Okay, so 80 degrees, 5% more, minute 61 previous. There we go. 7%-ish. We're gaining quite a bit of speed here.
A little bit, yeah. It seems a bit less draggy, as a little bit too energetic or slick.
Yeah.
Just a tad.
Also note the pitch here. I'm more like 2 degrees now. I mean, it's just
Especially in the turn, I would expect to see like 5 degrees pitch up.
Yeah.
But as I said, we are trying to just pretty much like you're doing beautifully to cross the FPV on the horizon like you are, and it's really doing a good job of keeping us exactly on the altitude that we want.
Yeah. I mean,
Another hint is that if you want a 3-degree descent, you just put the top of the FPV, like if the FPV is like a mini airplane, you put the top of the vertical stabilizer on the horizon. That would give you a good 3-degree descent.
Okay, so one thing that does occur to me, and I saw it from a lot of people as well, is how sensitive the ailerons is. By the way, the sun in front of us, let's get that sunshade out.
Oh yeah. So I can take off my sunglasses.
Yeah, exactly. Until we start turning.
Yeah.
As always, you take them off and ATC turns you.
Yeah, exactly. The beauty is knowing to set them right as ATC is giving you the next heading, but you already knew what it's going to be.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
what position of the visor you should set it.
Yep. I see. That's the same thing all over the world. But okay, yeah, those ailerons. The plane is really responsive, the simulation. Like, I'm giving minimal aileron input right now, and this is how it rolls. Does that look correct to you?
No, you can control it with more finesse, I feel like. The thing is, and this is kind of a comment to what you asked earlier about the deflection of the control, the controls feel really heavy to move. Like you take quite a lot of muscle to actually move this bicycle stick that you see in front of you. But as you're moving it a little bit, it gives you decent. I said what you would expect. As we talked earlier, it's more of a feeling thing than anything. But an airplane is an airplane. If you're saying it's a bit too energetic on the roll modes, I believe you.
I mean, if I start moving my aileron as slowly as I can, and this is the lowest I can get, but this is really literally moving my Thrustmaster Boeing yoke 2 millimeters. And let me just give you full aileron for a second. I know you've probably never done that in the real plane, at least I hope you never had to, but...
unusual attitude, yeah.
Exactly. So, let me give you full right now.
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah, it seems like I'm getting ready for like a bomb dive maneuver.
Yeah. Okay, so can we kind of agree then that the aileron is definitely a little bit like
it looks a bit too energetic. You know better. I will say this though, it's a simulator in a PC. I bet if you really want to fine tune it, you would be able to. I don't think you need to necessarily do it yourself because it should be pretty realistic to begin with.
Yep.
But nevertheless, I mean, I guess it's very hardware dependent.
Yeah. Okay. So I see an airport up there. I see we're probably a bit high. So let's see, 6,000. So we are probably looking at 20 track minutes too.
Yep.
Let's split this to vlog. Tells me minutes, but not the miles. Oh, by the way, that was a question somebody posted earlier. Whenever you hit the VL button over here, it changes the nav radio shown on the left side. So in the flight, it showed us nav 1 and com 1 all the time. But now when I hit VL to change from FMS to localizer, it switched over to radio number 2 on this side.
No, it's unrealistic. You can display whatever you want in those fields, but you change it through the MCDU configuration pages. We can maybe see if it's there. It definitely doesn't change like that. The only thing it does, as long as we're auto-tuning, the nav 1 page. No, it would not. Okay, I see what they did here. It would not change what frequency you're seeing on this bottom right corner. It will change what CDI are you referring to. So right now we're displaying localizer 1, correct? You could hit VLOC and it would go to localizer 2. But then it would also display it in amber to show you, hey, just pay attention. I can let you look at it, but you're looking at the cross side, so you can do it. Just be aware.
Yeah. Okay. So runway 4 right. So we are like 7 miles out, and I guess we can make a left turn.
Yeah.
So let's see. We want VL1, and could you just give me the course of that ILS once again? Because we have no way.
035. Yeah.
There's no way of pre-selecting that.
Right.
Okay, so could you please give me the descent and approach checklists?
Of course. Descent checklist. Lights and seatbelt signs.
Would you literally put the landing lights on for the descent checklist?
No, it's 10,000. Put the landing lights on.
Okay.
And also the taxi and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Altimeters.
3030 reading 5,600 cents.
3030 cost check. Landing data. Auto brake.
Medium.
Seatbelt shoulder harness.
Adjusted and secure.
Cruise briefing.
Complete.
Descent checklist complete. Then next is before landing checklist. I would say this will be final once we're fully configured.
Okay, perfect. And I'm getting a low fuel warning on the right side there. Hold on. What is that? We have a significant fuel imbalance.
Yeah, you know what? Our limit is 800. So, is it significant? It is. It could be caused by the fact that we were a long time on the ground. Because the APU takes the fuel from the right side. So I guess it would be it would not be unheard of to see this if we're that much delayed. Honestly, I thought of maybe commenting on cross-feeding on the ground, but we were occupied with other philosophical discussions.
Okay. Another quick question there that I just see on the PFD right now. I don't know why the green dot went down to 180. Now you said that is something that we could reasonably expect.
Did you put the flaps in? Well, we didn't. Oh,
No.
now it jumped back up.
Yeah, now it jumped back
No.
up, but no, I didn't touch the flaps at all.
No, it would typically stay according to the current conditions. It maybe would climb up as you are, for example, banking.
Okay. Alright, so we're on the downwind. I'm going to put the autopilot back in, the auto throttle.
Okay.
Because I want to see if we can fly this thing on an ILS. But I've never been lucky with it yet. So far, the developer acknowledges that there is a problem. So let me just go into the procedure guide once again to be sure that we know what we're about to do. Because the developer tells us. Let me read it out to you, and you tell me later on if I'm screwing anything on that up. So it says,
Okay.
the aircraft currently uses the default approach logic provided by Microsoft Flight Simulator. The intercept arm mode causes unpredictable results. Best practice to intercept an ILS for now. Approach the localizer with a 30-degree angle in heading mode. Once localizer needle starts moving, press approach on glacial panel. So that is what it says in the manual, in the procedures guide. So the way I understand it, we fly it with localizer, with heading, until we see the needle start coming in, and then we press the approach button. Would you concur with that?
I mean, it would absolutely work. The real airplane is a little bit less sensitive to these things. Like you can, it does a pretty good job of intercepting at a lot of variety of angles and configurations, including, like I said, changing it directly from LNAV directly into the localizer.
Yep.
So once again, if anyone is interested in what's a realistic behavior, you can see my video. I did it on the field there, which is an older add-on. It does a decent job. So, but yeah, we just read the rule book. I'm okay with that.
Okay. One more thing that I just noticed, the glide slope needle seems to be more or less stationary here. What scale is that glide slope indication of there? Is that standard ICAS? Or is that
Standard,
any...
yeah.
Okay, in other words, that
No, it's
should...
definitely stuck. Yeah, it's definitely not realistic.
Yeah, so that should significantly go up now. Because
Yeah.
I typically tend to use the glide slope needle when I'm vectoring myself in. The moment it starts coming in, I start making the turn. But, yeah.
Well, I can tell you this: we're 3,000. 3,000 corresponds to waypoint Nabo, which we're already outside of.
Okay, in other words, we start our turn. Well, let's see, 035 on the course. That means we need a heading of 005 to intercept.
And in the real world, when I'm this close to green dot, I would probably ask for, hey, maybe let's get the flaps to get green dot a little bit away from us.
Sounds good. Flaps 1.
That's one.
That was quite a jump on the green dot.
Yeah, it wouldn't be this immediate. It would take, honestly, flaps 1 takes almost 25 seconds to get from up to 1, because the slats take a long time to get there.
Okay.
So only once it's fully configured, we'll see the green dot drop like that.
Yeah. And the slats seem to be moving correctly, though, with the time, do they?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
The flap would not move until the slats are in position.
Okay.
So we would wait until the slats are there, and then the flaps would go,
Mm-hmm.
and then they are configured.
Okay.
Now, a good speed to cross the final approach fix, assuming you are on the glide path, is either flaps 2 or 3, and to be at 170 knots. And this is a very good time to go. Definitely flaps 3 and gear down, and then it gives you enough time to configure. So these are final approach fix at 1,700. If you can be there at 170 with at least flaps 2, that's good.
Okay, so I'll just start staying this back, flaps 2. And I'm just waiting for that needle to come alive in order to hit the approach button to see if that thing is going to intercept.
Sounds good. I'll try to call it out as well, so you can fly.
Yep.
No, I thought it moved, but no.
It should come in any moment, should it?
Yeah, probably. Oh, the pressure.
Oh yeah. I don't want to be the one responsible that they can blame for mishandling the airplane. I want to do
Well,
it exactly by the developers.
Guess what? You're PAC, you're responsible.
Yep. Come on, you need to come alive now. We're almost on the center line.
Yeah. That's interesting.
There it comes.
We're
Approach
definitely...
round.
Yep, checked. No, doesn't seem like it's capturing.
Oh. And it's going for it. Good, one more chance. Also, look at that glide slope needle. That's not correct either.
Yeah. No, it's not. Like the localizer seems to be correct needle. It seemed like it was a little bit late, but
Yeah. But we have the correct ident. The DME seems to be roughly correct. Not really, does it? Yeah, but
I
7
agree.
rounds out. Nope. That is bullshit. Autopilot off.
do some of your pilot shit, Nav.
Yep, that's the runway. And we are high, are we?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Not sure what that
But
stuff is. Yeah?
yeah, 3,000 is a good missed approach altitude. I guess it's a good time. We're below 200 knots, so let's set flaps 3.
Okay. Flap 3.
And coming up to Milt. When we cross Milt, it's a good time to get the gear down. And once you have the 3 green, it would be flaps 5, speed V approach landing checklist.
Okay. Always hate how hard it is to see the puppy in the simulator. I love it, so much easier.
Yeah.
But it seems the glide slope is more or less okay now as well. Not sure
Okay.
what it was previously, but
Is it responsive? Because before it was in a good position on the indicator, but it was just not responding.
yeah, true that. And now we're back on the puppy, so... You know what? I just want to try the glide slope. I'm just going to dive down a little bit.
Okay.
No, that's not responsive. That thing is just stuck in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Gear
Visually,
down. And flaps 5, you said?
wait for the gear to come down, unless if you want to check the gear horn. And we're green. Flaps 5, speed V approach, landing checklist.
Give me flap 4 right now, is that correct?
Well, now you have to do another click to flaps 5. Actually, we had flaps full performance. That's my mistake.
Okay, so we
Flaps
go
full.
flap 4.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's make sure you're below 165. Yeah.
No, they said the app was 120. Sorry, the ref 120 something. I guess it is.
Yeah.
Landing checklist, please.
Landing checklist. Lights. Check with me. Yeah.
On.
Fine. Flaps.
Flaps full.
Landing gear.
And 3 green.
Landing lights on. Oh, I was reading from the same wrong spot. Anyway. Before landing checklist complete.
Very much. So yeah, that glide slope indicator is just stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
Not sure what it's doing.
I wish it was like that in my check rides.
Yep.
Let's see if I can get the code from them.
Imagine if the checkers had the ability to insert such a failure and you would actually have to detect the glide slope malfunction.
That would be a hard one.
Oh yeah. Right, let's try to get the thing down. And apart from the fact that the frame rate is horrible right now, literally seeing a slideshow. Apart from that, the thing seems pretty stable and pretty easy to fly, especially the speed is very easy to control.
500.
That's good. It looks like a reasonable pitch angle. It's hard for me to 100% be accurate on this because it's kind of non-standard configuration for us, which in reality we would feel like it's a pitch down attitude. No, I guess pitch level like that. No, we would see a couple of degrees pitch up.
Okay.
This airplane likes to approach on kind of a slightly high pitch attitude.
Oh. And frame rate is like 5 frames a second right now.
100.
Yeah, the real airplane doesn't do that.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Come on. I want to do it the passenger-friendly way, and here we are.
Oh, nice. Okay, to reverse. I see the speed brakes didn't come up for some reason.
Okay. Manual
now they
brakes
do.
now. Yeah, I just extended them manually now. They're gonna
They
take
would
that
come up
exit, manual
automatically.
brakes. So I pressed the brakes. Should there be an auto brake disconnect message?
Yes, it would say auto brake, auto brake.
Oh. Oh, I retracted the spoilers. You can actually take it out of reverse as well. Things are easier in real life. Okay.
Yeah. So we are right now on Yankee. We did get permission to go on to runway 33 right. And to cross runway 04 left. It's a hot spot over there, but we are clear to cross.
Okay, so we turn onto the first left and we cross that runway on the other
That's
runway.
correct. That's correct. Afterwards would be a left turn November.
Okay.
And runway 04 right is confirmed. Clear right, clear to cross.
Okay, yeah. Isn't this November?
No,
Okay.
now we're about to cross the runway, and
Okay,
then it will be
perfect.
November.
So we cross this and then you said left or right?
Left.
Did I vacate to the wrong side?
No, this is standard procedures.
Okay.
Taxi could be a little bit not confusing, but it's a threat definitely in Boston. It's
Okay.
a very messy airport now. Now in real life, I would ask for the flaps up already. Don't do it yet, because if we don't do it and sufficient time passed, the ICAS screams at us that we're not in takeoff configuration. Kind of curious if it does it here.
Okay. Something
Because
the
like
user-
after
Yeah, sorry. you
yeah
go
after like 2 minutes, after 2 minutes, if you are still in landing configuration, the ICAS starts screaming at you, "Hey, you're about to take off," because as I said in the beginning of the stream, it would dump the flight plan and get ready for the next leg. So at this point, if you're still in landing configuration, it yells at you.
Okay. We're approaching
Okay.
the runway here.
15 right, we are clear to cross, clear right.
And clear left, clear cross.
Sounds good. This is hotspot 2, and you take the next left, it's going to be taxiway Bravo.
Okay, first left, Bravo. Some user asked earlier on if you could try to see if the fuel balancing does work. Is
Oh,
that something we could
absolutely.
try in this position?
Absolutely, yep. As long as you're not in takeoff or landing, you can absolutely do that.
Okay. Or maybe once we're past the turn, I guess. Okay, I guess 2 minutes after landing are definitely over, the thing doesn't stream. But then again, it didn't reset the
Right.
FMC either, so I'm not sure what to blame this one on. If it's the plane not going back into the takeoff logic and therefore not streaming, or if it's just the flap logic not implemented correctly.
Yeah, makes total sense. Anyway, at this point, we could get the flaps up.
Okay.
And if you want to cross feed, So it actually, this airplane makes it really easy for you. Our lower tank is number 2, right?
That is correct.
So you have a button that conveniently has a position low 2 in the fuel panel.
Okay, that was up here. Thrust speed low 2.
That's it.
Okay.
Now let's go to the system's fuel synoptic page.
Cool. By the way, should it automatically close this drop-down menu?
No. No, you would have to. Yeah, that would be accurate.
Oh, okay.
Seems like. So now the AC pump on the left side joins the engine-driven pump on the left side, and now it basically overcomes the pressure coming out of just the engine-driven pump, or what we actually call the ejector pump on the right side.
Okay. Is that DC pump operating there realistic?
No, that's not realistic. Good catch.
Okay. So that's like what we had for the entire flight already, that the DC pump just keeps going
Yeah, and for some
like
reason
always.
Yeah, the maintenance guys would have to change it pretty quickly if it keeps running all the time like that.
Yeah. Okay, so after landing procedure, we retracted the flaps and I just turned the landing and strobe lights off. Is there anything else I need to do?
Well, if the transponder would go from TARA to alt on, we would do that. And then that's pretty much it, really.
Okay. Did I miss the point where I had to turn right already?
No, it's actually, that's a good place over here. This would be Echo.
And we go right on Echo?
And then let's say we are in Bravo 16 gate, which would be right before the next turn. So you would have
So that one over there in between the two jetways?
no, I was going for what's it called? So you have taxi lane Echo 1, it would be a left turn. So I'm just saying that left turn to Echo 1, just before that left turn. You can see that over there. So this is service
I mean
route,
the
right?
one over there.
Yes, exactly. So just before that, you would take a right to Bravo 16.
Okay. I guess we're starting the APU now?
That's a good idea.
Okay, so Bravo. Does that one say 16 already?
I can't tell. I'm seeing it in reduced resolution. So
No, that's 18.
trusting you. 18. Okay.
By the way,
So 18, 17, 16.
we just came to a stop here. Shall we try single engine taxi?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Okay, so just simply shutdown number 2, that's it? Or anything
simple
else
as
to do?
that.
Okay.
That's it.
Number 2 confirmed?
Confirm.
How much thrust would I normally need to get the plane moving now?
Well, 30, 35. Normally, we would not want it to get it over 40, because then if someone is driving behind us on the ramp, it might be dangerous.
The
So you see that-
35 doesn't move. 40.
Okay. No, he doesn't like it, huh?
No.
And we are exceptionally light after landing, so it should really move.
No takeoff.
Like,
Flaps
well, honestly,
trim.
when I'm taxiing this thing, I really want to shut down the engine as soon as possible, because otherwise it just keeps. You can see on the first officer's side brake temperatures. You can see how warm brakes. That's realistic.
Okay.
So if you're taxiing on 2 engines, this
Yeah,
thing
oops.
really wants to keep shooting, and you would ride the brakes all the way through. So to
Yeah.
avoid that, we would prioritize getting the one of the engines off.
Okay. And is it like 3 minutes cooling or? Oh,
2 minutes.
17. 2 minutes, okay.
So the significance of what we talked earlier about the 2 minutes dropping off the flight plan, yelling at you for the flaps, it's typical to also use that reference as to, okay, 2 minutes past now, we can shut down the engine.
Okay, perfect.
If for some reason we forgot to set the chrono for that.
Yeah. So yeah, eventually at 50% I got it rolling, but interestingly, once it was rolling, I could accelerate with 35%.
Okay, so like the static coefficient of
Yeah, exactly.
is too high, I guess, and the dynamic is pretty much good, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we look at it now, 34%, and it kind of sticks at 3 knots on the turn. See what it does when we're going straight. By the way, I hardly need any tiller input, is that correct?
It's very sensitive, so that the tiller is really impressive on this in terms of this thing can maneuver in really tight ramps. So I would say, yeah.
Okay. So, made it.
Nice.
Parking brake set.
Full
And
APU is on, more than 2 minutes past, so you can just straight up shut down engine 2.
okay, engine 1 is off.
Now the procedure is thrust lever is idle, the start stop to stop. Now you move up to the overhead, turn off the passenger signs. Red beacon off. And hydraulic pump 3A to off. That's
Okay.
it.
So signs, beacon, 3A pump. Okay, that's easy.
Yep, very, very easy. And then you call for the shutdown checklists.
Okay, shutdown checklist, please.
Shutdown checklist transponder.
Am I?
Chocks and brakes.
Are set.
Engines.
Off.
Hydraulic pump 3A.
Off.
Shutdown checklist complete.
Okay, thank you very much.
We made it.
We made it.
Despite all of your efforts to destroy the airplane. That's
Yep.
you can appreciate the resilience of it.
Yeah. Okay, so I saw there were quite a couple of questions coming in the meantime. Shall we go over a couple more of those questions before we start, before we actually finish this?
Sure.
In the meantime, I want to see what GSX can do in this. Not sure.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. If something acts up now, then I don't know. What did it say? Do something for me. Okay. It's GSX. Just ignore what I said. So look at this. That kind of looks funny with the sunshades over here being so bright.
Yeah.
I mean, that looks like...
Nevertheless, I have to say, nice looking model. You can't take that away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a nice looking model. We have to give them that. X-Crafts are the guys from whom the model has been bought. So you've probably seen those. You did use X-Plane, did you?
I did. I have to be honest, when I did use them, I don't know about versions and stuff, but when I tried to install them and use them for my initial type rating a few years ago, it didn't really help me with my procedures.
Okay.
But I guess the model was nice.
Okay. And, well, did you know how easy it is for passengers to disembark? Just through the...
Oh, that's a nice feature of the airplane. Yeah.
Definitely.
Through the forward electronics bay. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, that is 100% realistic. I agree. Look at how they fly up the jetway.
Oh, very nice. That's cool.
GSX.
And they're very motivated to get off the plane.
Oh yeah. Well, I can absolutely understand that after my couple of turns.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if I just about go a little bit through the chat. Well, first of all, one thing I would like to say is, Ethai, thank you very, very, very much for being on the stream. Now, guys, if you want to hear more from Ethai, he runs his own flight simulation channel here on YouTube called Crew Rest. And he's done tutorials on the Embraer where he basically, well, in a pretty similar style to my 737 tutorials, and he's doing an awesome job on it. So I can very much recommend you to subscribe to his channel and check his videos out. He's doing an amazing job on it, really.
Thank you. Once again, coming from you, I pretty much try to transfer what I see you do to for people to actually learn the Embraer, because I think it's a seriously misrepresented airplane in the flight sim world. And as I said, all I wanted was to have a good representation when I did my initial training and then upgrade training. I just didn't have a good solution for it in the flight sim. So it would be nice to see a good add-on come into place, and I think if the community is a bit more educated on that, including the developers, by the way, if they need some hints and tips and what am I looking for when I set up things, it would be nice for them to know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun and a blast. Yeah, looking forward to hearing from you, Emmanuel, specifically, from everyone of the viewers.
All right. So, then maybe we can go. Metal Eye. Also, we should do a donation bar for Ethai's first MSFS PC. Yeah, that might be something for the future.
All right.
Yeah, I really have to say the community has been great at not only getting me the E-Jet, but also on helping me fund the Honeycomb Bravo throttle, which I'm using now, and which I still am going to do a video on. So the community really appreciates what people do, and I can absolutely recommend you, if you do get more audience, then you know, there is nothing wrong with asking them to support your channel.
You know what? You said it. I'm pretty bad at it, so I need to take your advice from you. Well, the community has been great and supportive. It's just me being kind of in between my flying to kind of do the channel. But yeah, I would seriously consider it, and I really appreciate the advice and the input.
Yeah, and guys, for everybody, I just put the link to Ethai's channel on the chat over here as well. So, then let's quickly go over some of the questions that are left underneath the channel, or underneath the video, so that if there is anything we missed while we've been busy on the descent on the approach. I'm sure there must have been a lot of questions. So, rolling up a little bit right now, Mason Pepper asked, do the wipers work? And the answer to that is they move, but they don't clear any rain of the windshield. They are using the default Asobo model for that, as far as I'm aware, and that default Asobo model doesn't do it yet. If you have the 737 from PMDG, then you know what to expect from the wipers on this one as well. Okay, then let's go a little bit further up. So, VR Sim Pilot, you asked the question. So, after this flight, does this get a strong buy recommendation? Well, who shall start? Shall I start?
Yeah, you were the one flying it.
Okay. Well, I know some guys are gonna kill me for it, but in my opinion, there is potential in the plane, as we saw. We saw there is some stuff implemented that, you know, wouldn't be like 100% SOP. So we can see that the developers are putting some effort into the plane. But in my opinion, if we are just hands down honest, it is not in a state yet where I would recommend to get it. The autopilot issues we've been facing were just, well, especially the latest part of the climb, then it wouldn't go into altitude, it just busted the altitude. It didn't capture the ILS again. So, yeah. I don't know. In my opinion, we can see there is potential in the plane. Like, there is a couple of things in there that are looking promising. But huge parts of it are not working at the moment. So I would say maybe check back in 6 months' time to see what the progress has been made. Because I can certainly see some potential in the plane, but as of right now, I would say better check back in a little time to see how the progress is and how the thing is coming along. That would be my recommendation.
I agree 100%, and the straight up reason is, for me, the current state. Again, I really appreciate the work that's been done and how it's. I see a lot of good basis to start with, but it's too early in development. Personally speaking, I would not enjoy flying it. There's just too many things that would annoy me and they occupy me, and it's just like, it's not realistic. Like, it's not. It wouldn't be fun for me to troubleshoot things that are a sim thing and not an airplane thing. As well as, and if I'm talking about real life training, I can't really run all the flows and checklists like I would in my airline. So it's, at best, doesn't train me well. At worst, it's negative training. So for me, I just personally wouldn't enjoy it. It's not good for FlightSim yet. You can't really do any procedures. You can't do any manipulation on the LNAV or VNAV, and if not even VNAV, but like the green modes, so to speak, are not operating correctly. So to me, it's not in a state I would enjoy messing with it. So I would want to see at least full 100% ability to do everything normal procedures before I would even begin to enjoy it. The next level would be abnormals, which there's not even much to talk about right now, but down the line, if hydraulic 2 is failing, what components am I missing right now? Engine failures and fires and stuff like that. That's really next level, but at the very least, normal procedures I would want to see implemented. If it's not, it's just going to annoy me personally.
Yeah, I would agree on that. I mean, seeing what the developers initially announced, we can see an intention that they hopefully will go down that road, that we may at some point actually see them going into stuff like the failures. But certainly that is something we don't even have to talk about right now, because right now we're talking about the very most basic things, like intercepting an altitude with the autopilot, like intercepting a localizer with the autopilot, like even the flight path angle mode doesn't work, level change doesn't work, VNAV doesn't even exist. So, you know...
Indications are not correct with light slope. So even if you say, oh, well, you're a pilot, just disconnect everything and just flight yourself. Yeah, but it's not even shown correctly. Now, it rarely does any flukes in the real life. Rarely. It's really, really nice autopilot system. And it's usually extremely easy to fly because of all that automation. And all of a sudden, you're dealing with multiple things that are just simply not modeled correctly.
Yep.
It's hard to balance between the autopilot not doing what it should and the indication not indicating what it should. So you're like, okay, so what am I doing? Just visual approaches based on nothing? Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if one of the two would work correctly, then, you know, if the indication is wrong but the autopilot follows the correct signal, it wouldn't be something I would recommend, but it would at least be something that gets you down to the runway.
Exactly. It's a solution.
Exactly. But at the moment, neither of the two worked. So, yeah. In my opinion...
I mean...
Yep. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you guys just watched the stream. It's two pilots trying to troubleshoot an airplane problem that's not really an airplane problem. It's a simulator problem. And it's during cruise when everything should be normal. Nothing is moving. But somehow we kept being busy with the autopilot making, you know, weird things.
Yeah, absolutely. Alright, and I think this would actually be a pretty good ending for the live stream, because this is, like, my opinion. I absolutely have to second everything that Itai said. So, I would say this would be a pretty good point to actually come to an end with this live stream. So, thank you very much for everybody joining. I've been absolutely overwhelmed by... There have been over 400 people watching at the same time from what I saw when I looked at the YouTube app. But usually after that it turns out that there have been even more people. So far, the PMDG 737 with 550 people watching at the same time has been my absolute record. And I have a feeling we could have beaten that with the Embraer, which is not even like the prime thing that my channel is about. So I'm absolutely overwhelmed with the attention, and I hope that you guys have absolutely enjoyed it. I hope that you also have a look into Itai's channel, because he's the guy on the Embraer. If you're looking for anything Embraer, then go to his channel and you are going to get some information over there. Now, I would like to thank everybody very, very much for joining, and I would also like to take the opportunity, I didn't do it a single time this live stream, but I would just like to take the opportunity to thank everybody who has donated something on this channel. We are going to split 50-50 with Ethai and me, because I really feel like he had the major role in this live stream. So I would like to thank him once again for being here today. I hope that Ethai, for you it was probably a totally new experience, wasn't it? You've never live streamed before, did you?
I haven't. Not in an active way like that. I just let the simulator run, and if someone watches it, great. I don't keep engaging as much as you. And yes, absolutely a new experience. And thank you everyone who participated. I feel very welcome, and especially you, Emmanuel. But yeah, it feels like just having fun, being airplane nerds together, and it's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is a great ending to the stream. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. And I'm looking forward to see you all again, hopefully very soon. And then hopefully with some news about different topics that you are definitely going to enjoy. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is. Like, comment, and subscribe, especially to Ethai's channel. And see you around.